For thousands of years, ancient civilizations have left us puzzles, monuments that stand in silent defiance of time. These prehistoric structures, built with stunning precision, defy the limitations of their era. How did they achieve such mathematical accuracy without the tools we take for granted? Was it sheer genius, or something more elusive? Beneath the layers of stone and earth, these creations seem to whisper secrets of a forgotten knowledge, one that might have shaped the very foundation of our world. Join us as we uncover the hidden truths behind these remarkable feats of engineering and explore the mysteries that still baffle us today. Nestled in the rolling hills of the Alentejo region in southern Portugal, the dolmen of Anta Grande do Zambujeiro rises out of the landscape like a monument from another time. A massive megalithic structure, the dolmen stands as a silent sentinel to the distant past, its immense stones weathered and worn by millennia of wind and rain. It's a place where history and mystery intertwine, where the very air seems to hum with questions that have yet to be answered. The dolmen itself is one of the largest and most impressive of its kind in the Iberian Peninsula. The structure consists of a series of towering vertical stones arranged to form a chamber, which is covered by a massive capstone. The chamber, roughly rectangular in shape, measures about 6 meters long and 3 meters wide, and it is encircled by a circular cairn, an ancient pile of stones that once may have served as a boundary or marker. The capstone, which weighs an estimated 20 tons, rests delicately atop the upright stones, an architectural feat that still seems almost impossible given the tools available to its creators. Built during the late Neolithic or early Bronze Age, around 6,000 years ago, the dolmen is a testament to the ingenuity of its builders. It's part of a larger megalithic complex that dots the landscape of southern Portugal, which includes other dolmens, menhirs, and stone circles. These sites were likely used as burial chambers or ceremonial spaces, though the full extent of their purpose remains shrouded in mystery. The construction methods and the reasons behind the choice of locations for these structures are still debated by scholars today. What is most striking about the dolmen of Anta Grande do Zambujeiro, however, is the precision with which it was constructed. The alignment of the stones suggests a sophisticated understanding of geometry and astronomy, an impressive feat for a society that predated written history. Some researchers speculate that the builders had a keen awareness of celestial events, aligning the entrance of the chamber with the setting sun during certain solstices or equinoxes. Such precision would have required not only an advanced knowledge of the stars, but also the ability to measure and cut stone with remarkable accuracy. Yet, while much has been uncovered about the structure's design and likely use as a tomb, many questions remain unanswered. How did the builders transport the massive stones? Some of the largest capstones would have been quarried several kilometers away from the site. Was it the work of a large, organized labor force, or could smaller groups of people with clever techniques and tools have managed such an impressive feat? The logistics of moving stones weighing several tons remain a point of intrigue, and one that has led some to wonder whether the construction methods might have involved more than simple human ingenuity. Some have even speculated that the dolmen may not have been built solely with practical tools of the time, but with knowledge lost to history. Could these ancient builders have had access to techniques or tools that were more advanced than what we currently understand? Or more mysteriously still, could there have been some form of lost knowledge, perhaps from an earlier, even more advanced civilization, that influenced the design and construction of these monumental sites? The arrangement of the stones has also led to theories that extend into the realm of the esoteric. Some believe that the dolmen was a site of ritual sacrifice, or that it could have been a place where the boundaries between life and death were symbolically crossed. Others suggest that the dolmen's design is more aligned with astronomical practices, serving as a kind of ancient observatory or calendar. Could it have been a place where early astronomers observed the stars and planets, connecting the earthly and celestial realms in ways that we are only beginning to comprehend? There is also the question of the dolmen's ultimate purpose. While it is widely accepted that it served as a burial site, the remains of those buried within the chamber have long since disappeared, leaving behind little tangible evidence. Could the dolmen have held significance beyond the simple act of burial? Was it a place of power, a nexus of spiritual or political influence? The absence of written records leaves room for all manner of speculation, and yet every theory remains just that, a theory. As we stand before the imposing structure of the dolmen of Anta Grande do Zambujeiro, one can't help but wonder how much we truly know about the past, and how much remains hidden beneath the weight of time and stone. The mystery of its construction, its purpose, and its creators may never be fully understood, and yet it continues to captivate the imagination of all who encounter it. And so, we are left with the lingering question: what truths still lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to be unearthed? As we leave the windswept hills of southern Portugal, where the stones of the dolmen of Anta Grande do Zambujeiro continue to stand in silent defiance of time, we turn our gaze towards another remarkable structure, one that lies in the green valleys of Wales, not far from the historic town of Cardiff. Here, nestled in the tranquil countryside, lies the Tinkinswood burial chamber, a site that offers its own enigma, steeped in both history and mystery. The Tinkinswood burial chamber is a megalithic monument, an ancient tomb that dates back over 6,000 years to the Neolithic period. It consists of a large rectangular chamber made of massive stones, enclosed by a circle of smaller stones, surrounded by a tumulus, a mound of earth and stones. The structure, though smaller than some of the colossal megalithic sites of southern Europe, is no less striking. What sets it apart is the sheer weight and size of the stones. The capstone alone weighs an estimated 40 tons, and it rests atop 4 massive uprights, creating a chamber that measures about 5 meters long and 2 meters wide. In a landscape dotted with other prehistoric monuments, the Tinkinswood burial chamber stands as one of the most well-preserved examples of the Neolithic tradition in Britain. Unlike the dolmens we find in Portugal or France, Tinkinswood is a long barrow, a type of burial mound typically used during the late Neolithic and early Bronze Age. The site was likely used for communal burials, and it is believed to have been a ceremonial center where people gathered to honor their dead, and perhaps, in some way, to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. What is particularly intriguing about Tinkinswood, however, is the sheer scale of the monument and the care with which it was constructed. The choice of location is also worth considering. The chamber lies on a hill overlooking a fertile valley, as if it was placed deliberately to command a view of the surrounding landscape. Could the builders have chosen this location for its symbolism or its alignment with celestial events? Was this a place of ritualistic significance, where the movements of the sun or stars were closely observed and interpreted? While there is no definitive answer, it's clear that the construction of the chamber involved a high degree of planning and purpose. The stones themselves are another mystery. Where did they come from? Some of the largest stones that make up the chamber are believed to have been sourced from a quarry many kilometers away. The logistics of transporting such massive blocks, especially during a time when the wheel had yet to be invented, remain a subject of speculation. Were the builders using advanced techniques that have since been lost to history, or were there methods of transport we have yet to uncover? In addition to these questions, there are intriguing details that suggest Tinkinswood may have been more than just a burial site. Excavations have revealed human remains inside the chamber, along with the remains of animals and artifacts, including pottery fragments. These discoveries point to a complex society, one that may have practiced rituals involving both the living and the dead. The fact that the burial chamber was likely used for multiple interments over several centuries suggests it may have held lasting significance for the communities that built it. Yet while we have some insight into the physical construction and purpose of Tinkinswood, much remains shrouded in mystery. For example, some scholars have proposed that the chamber may have been aligned with specific celestial events, similar to other ancient megalithic structures like Stonehenge. Could the builders of Tinkinswood have used the monument to track the movement of the sun, the moon, or the stars? Some believe that the way the stones are arranged may reflect an early understanding of astronomy and could even indicate that Tinkinswood was used as a type of ancient observatory. Further adding to the mystery is the chamber's unique structure. Unlike other burial chambers of the time, which often consisted of simple stone-lined graves, Tinkinswood is a true megalithic structure, built with enormous stones that would have required a sophisticated understanding of both construction and engineering. The choice to build such a large and elaborate structure for a burial site raises questions about the significance of death and the afterlife in Neolithic society. Was the chamber intended as a place for ancestral worship, or as a gateway to another realm? Could it have been a symbol of power and status, meant to honor those buried within? Or perhaps it was a place where the living and the dead came together for ritualistic ceremonies that we can only imagine today. Some have even suggested that Tinkinswood may have been part of a larger network of sacred sites across the region, connected by an ancient understanding of the landscape and its energy. Was the chamber built in alignment with other megalithic sites, creating a kind of prehistoric sacred geography? Could the builders have believed that the energy of the earth itself played a role in the rituals performed at these sites? These ideas remain speculative, but they speak to the mystery and allure of Tinkinswood and to the possibility that we have only begun to scratch the surface of its true purpose. As we reflect on the Tinkinswood burial chamber, we are reminded that it stands as a monument to both the ingenuity and the spiritual beliefs of its creators. It speaks to a time when humans were still forging their understanding of the world, its mysteries, and the forces that governed both life and death. The questions it raises, about its construction, its purpose, and the beliefs of those who built it, continue to stir curiosity and intrigue. As we stand before its ancient stones, we can only wonder, what did the builders of Tinkinswood know about the world around them? What truths did they understand, and how did they use their knowledge to shape the monuments that have come down to us? The mystery remains unresolved, but in this uncertainty lies the power of the past to captivate our imaginations, urging us to search for answers that may forever remain just beyond our reach. As we leave behind the tranquil hills of Wales, where the stones of Tinkinswood continue to guard the secrets of the past, we turn our attention to another extraordinary sight, a place where the forces of nature and human ingenuity converge in a way that has baffled historians for centuries. On the island of Öland, off the eastern coast of Sweden, lies Eketorp Fortress, a remarkable structure that, much like the megalithic tombs we've explored, was built with precision and purpose, but with an entirely different set of intentions. Eketorp Fortress is located on a narrow plateau, perched above the vast expanse of Öland's unique landscape, a landscape that, at first glance, seems to stretch endlessly, covered in fields of tall grasses and rugged stone. The fortress itself, made of thick stone walls and circular towers, stands as a testament to the advanced military and architectural skills of the people who built it. Dating back to the early Iron Age, around 1,500 years ago, Eketorp is one of the best preserved forts of its kind in Sweden, offering us an intimate glimpse into the defensive strategies of a long-forgotten civilization. The fortress is built with striking precision, its circular stone walls enclosing a central area that would have housed homes, storage facilities, and perhaps a marketplace or communal space. The walls are reinforced with towers, placed at strategic intervals to provide both defensive strength and an elevated vantage point. The circular design itself is significant, seemingly simple, yet the arrangement of these walls speaks to a deep understanding of defensive architecture. The choice of the circular form likely allowed for efficient communication and control, with no corners to hide in and every entrance tightly secured. This configuration suggests that the people who built Eketorp were not just concerned with survival, they were also thinkers, planners, and strategists. The fortress would have been a hub of activity, with people living and working inside its protective walls, defending against invaders, but also carrying on the everyday tasks of life. Evidence suggests that Eketorp was a fortified settlement, not just a single military structure, and the people here were likely engaged in agriculture, trade, and perhaps even political alliances. This combination of military and civilian life offers a complex picture of what daily existence might have been like for the people of Oland at the time. But what stands out most about Eketorp is the level of sophistication embedded in its design. It is not simply a crude fortification, but a carefully thought-out structure, built to withstand not just the physical threats of war, but also the social dynamics of a community. The walls are built with large limestone blocks, carefully cut and stacked, showcasing an advanced knowledge of both materials and construction techniques. How did these people, without the use of modern tools or machinery, manage to construct such an enduring fortress? One of the more fascinating aspects of Eketorp is its apparent alignment with the natural world. The position of the fortress seems to have been carefully chosen for both strategic and symbolic reasons. Situated on a rise above the surrounding land, it commands a clear view of the terrain, making it an ideal lookout for spotting approaching threats. However, it also seems to align with certain natural features of Oland itself: its coastline, the movement of the tides, and possibly even celestial events. Was Eketorp built to reflect an understanding of the rhythms of nature? Was it designed to interact with the landscape in a way that was both practical and symbolic, perhaps even drawing on ancient cosmological beliefs? While much of Eketorp's construction seems straightforward, there are aspects of the site that continue to elude our full understanding. For example, there is evidence of multiple phases of construction at the site, suggesting that it was used over an extended period of time and may have evolved in response to changing needs. But was the site abandoned entirely at some point, or did it serve a more complex role over the centuries? What caused the fortress to fall into disuse, and why was it never fully restored or rebuilt? Some researchers have suggested that the fall of Eketorp may have been due to a shift in the region's political and social landscape. As the Iron Age progressed, communities in Scandinavia began to evolve, and the need for such fortifications may have lessened. Others speculate that the site could have been abandoned in the wake of a cataclysmic event, such as a devastating raid or a shift in climate that disrupted agricultural patterns. Could there have been a single event, a turning point that led to the decline of this once thriving settlement? There are also more speculative theories surrounding Eketorp's purpose and significance. Some believe that the fortress might have had a ritualistic function, not just a military one. Could it have been a ceremonial site, where the physical act of defense was intertwined with spiritual or social rituals? The circular shape of the fort, which is often seen in ancient cultures as a symbol of unity, eternity, and the cyclical nature of life, may point to a deeper, more symbolic meaning behind its construction. Could the people of Oland have seen the fortress as more than just a place to defend against enemies, but as a kind of spiritual stronghold, a physical manifestation of their place in the world? And then there is the question of its construction itself. How did a community, perhaps numbering only in the hundreds, manage to move and position such massive stones without the benefit of advanced tools or machinery? Could the people of Eketorp have possessed knowledge of techniques now lost to history, methods of construction that were so effective they were passed down through generations but eventually forgotten as new technologies emerged? As we look at the remains of Eketorp Fortress, standing resolute against the Swedish sky, we are faced with a puzzle that remains, in many ways, unsolved. The precision with which it was built, The strategic importance of its location and the mysteries surrounding its abandonment all point to a society that was far more complex and capable than we might expect for its time. Could the builders of Eketorp have had a deeper understanding of the forces of nature and the cosmos? Were they more connected to the land than we realize, using the landscape not just for protection, but as a kind of living, breathing map of their world? The answers may never fully emerge, but the fortress stands as a reminder of the ingenuity of those who came before us. What we do know is that the mystery of Eketorp, much like other ancient structures we've explored, invites us to question what we truly understand about our distant ancestors, and what knowledge may still lie hidden beneath the stones, waiting to be rediscovered. As we leave behind the formidable walls of Eketorp Fortress, with its military precision and strategic location, we turn our attention to another enigmatic site, one that takes us deep into the heart of the Mediterranean. On the island of Sardinia, a land known for its rugged landscapes and ancient mysteries, lies a series of remarkable structures, Nuragic sacred wells. These wells, known locally as Pozzi Sacri, offer a glimpse into a society that lived long before the rise of written history, a society that left behind not just everyday objects or tombs, but profound sacred places that continue to captivate the imagination. The sacred wells of Sardinia are a striking feature of the Nuragic civilization, which thrived on the island between the Bronze and Iron Ages from around 1600 BCE to 500 BCE. These wells, scattered across the island, are not simply functional structures. They are grand, circular stone wells, often surrounded by elaborate stone architecture. Each well is an intricate design, with carefully placed stones and a deep central shaft, some of which extend as far as 10 meters below the surface. The wells are typically constructed with multiple tiers of stones designed to guide water down into the depths, sometimes with a small chamber or altar-like structure at the bottom. At first glance, the purpose of these wells may seem straightforward. They were sources of water in a dry island environment. But as we begin to examine their design and location, questions arise that suggest there is much more to these wells than meets the eye. Why were they built with such precision and care? Why did the builders choose to place these wells at such great depths, sometimes far deeper than necessary for water storage? And why do many of these sacred wells appear to have been integrated into the broader landscape in ways that suggest a deeper spiritual or cosmological significance? One of the most intriguing aspects of the Nuragic sacred wells is the mathematical and architectural precision with which they were built. Each well is meticulously crafted, with stones that fit together so tightly that they seem almost to defy time itself. The builders used geometric principles that suggest a sophisticated understanding of architecture. The circular design of the wells, along with their alignment to the surrounding landscape, hints at a deep connection to the natural world, perhaps even a reflection of celestial patterns. At sites like the sacred well of Santa Cristina and the well of Sa Testa, we see this alignment most clearly. The wells appear to be oriented in a way that connects them with specific natural features, such as mountains, the horizon, or even the setting sun at certain times of the year. Could these wells have been designed to serve as astronomical markers, aligning with the sun or moon during key moments in the agricultural calendar? The idea that these sacred wells might have been used for ritual observances tied to celestial events is a compelling one, especially when we consider that the Nuragic people were known for their complex relationship with the heavens. Could these wells have served not just as a source of physical sustenance, but as a place for spiritual connection, where the cycles of nature were understood and revered? But the mystery deepens when we consider the ritual objects and offerings found in the wells. Archaeological excavations have revealed that these sacred wells were often used for more than just drawing water. Over the centuries, the bottoms of these wells have yielded bronze statues, pottery, jewelry, and even animal bones, items that suggest the wells were places of ritual sacrifice or offerings. Some scholars believe these offerings were made to honor deities or spirits associated with water, a resource that was as sacred as it was essential for life in Sardinia's arid climate. Was the act of descending into the wells part of a ritual, perhaps symbolizing a journey to the underworld or a passage between life and death? The presence of the altar-like features in some wells suggests that these sites may have had a ceremonial purpose, perhaps linked to funerary practices or rites of passage. The deep, dark shafts of the wells, which seem to draw you into the earth itself, might have symbolized a connection between the living and the divine, just as many ancient cultures associated water with life, death, and rebirth. Could the wells have been conceived as a kind of portal, where the boundaries between the mortal world and the spiritual world were believed to be thinner? While many scholars have focused on the practical and ritual aspects of the sacred wells, there are those who suggest that these structures may have been part of a much larger, more intricate network of sacred spaces across the island. Could these wells have been aligned with other megalithic sites in a deliberate pattern, creating a spiritual map of Sardinia that was designed to guide people toward particular locations or events? The idea that the wells might have been part of a larger cosmological design, linking the physical world with the stars, raises fascinating questions about the level of astronomical and geographical knowledge possessed by the Nuragic people. Moreover, there is a question of how the wells were constructed with such accuracy in the first place. The precise geometry of the stonework suggests a sophisticated understanding of mathematics and the ability to carry out large-scale construction projects in a way that would have required both skilled labor and advanced knowledge. Did the builders of these wells have access to tools or methods that have since been lost to history? Or perhaps, as some fringe theories suggest, was there some kind of lost knowledge, passed down through generations, that allowed them to build these monumental structures with such precision? One particularly enigmatic feature of the wells is their location. Many are found in places that seem to have been intentionally chosen, based not only on access to water but also on their connection to the natural world. Sites like the Sacred Well of Santa Cristina are situated near other important Nuragic structures, including towers and sanctuaries. These locations often correspond to areas that were significant for their natural features, like springs, caves, or sacred groves. Could the choice of location have been based on an understanding of the land that is now lost to us? Were these places seen as imbued with special spiritual significance, perhaps drawing on an ancient connection to the earth itself? As we stand before these wells, gazing down into their deep shafts, it's hard not to feel the weight of the mysteries they hold. The purpose of these sacred wells, whether as a tool for survival, a ritual site, or a cosmic marker, remains elusive. And yet, their enduring presence calls us to ask, what did the people who built these wells understand about the world around them? Were they simply functional structures, or were they part of a grander, more profound vision of life, death, and the cosmos? What knowledge lies buried beneath the stones, and what connections to the sacred have we yet to uncover? The mystery of the Nuragic sacred wells is far from solved, but in their quiet majesty they remind us that the search for answers is as important as the answers themselves. Perhaps in the depths of these wells, there is more than just water waiting to be discovered. Perhaps there are truths we have yet to comprehend. As we leave behind the sacred wells of Sardinia, where water flowed as a conduit between the living and the divine, we shift our gaze to the far northern reaches of the British Isles. There, on a windswept island off the coast of Shetland, stands a monument as enigmatic as it is enduring, the Broch of Mousa. This towering stone structure, built over 2,000 years ago, looms over the landscape with quiet majesty, its silhouette cutting through the bleak skies of the Shetland Islands. It is a marvel of ancient engineering, a mystery that continues to capture the curiosity of historians, archaeologists, and explorers alike. The Broch of Mousa is one of the best preserved brochs in Scotland, a type of circular dry stone tower that once dotted the northern islands of the British Isles. Standing 13 meters tall, it is a fortress of stone, constructed with an architectural precision that remains impressive even by modern standards. Its walls, composed of carefully laid stonework, are thick and sturdy, narrowing as they rise to a point at the top. Inside, the broch is hollow, with a central chamber that would have been surrounded by living spaces, storage rooms, and narrow staircases that spiral upwards, leading to an open platform at the top, a vantage point offering sweeping views of the surrounding islands and sea. Despite its apparent simplicity, the construction of the broch is anything but straightforward. The stones, which vary in size, fit together with such precision that even after 2 millennia of exposure to the harsh winds and salt water of the Shetland Isles, the structure remains remarkably intact. The thickness of the walls, which taper slightly as they rise, suggests a deep understanding of engineering and the forces that would act upon the structure. How, with only rudimentary tools, did the builders manage to achieve such a perfect, self-supporting design? The purpose of the broch remains a topic of debate. Some believe that it was a defensive structure, built to protect its inhabitants from raiders or rival tribes. The Shetland Islands, with their strategic position in the North Sea, were a crossroads of ancient trade and conflict, and the broch may have served as a fortress, offering both shelter and a commanding view of the surrounding waters. The height of the broch would have given its defenders a clear line of sight to any approaching ships or intruders. But there is more to the structure than mere defense. Others suggest that the broch may have had a more symbolic or ceremonial function. The precise, almost mathematical arrangement of the stones, the way the structure is designed to echo the natural features of the landscape, hints at something beyond a simple military stronghold. The broch's circular shape, repeated throughout the structure, is a motif that often carries spiritual significance, representing eternity, wholeness, and the cyclical nature of life. Could the broch have been more than just a fort? Was it perhaps a monument to the power and endurance of its people, a reflection of their cosmological beliefs and their understanding of the natural world? Inside the broch, there are no clear signs of immediate occupation, no evidence of large-scale residential life. Instead, what is found are faint traces of earlier uses: a hearth, storage spaces, and even the remnants of animal bones, indicating that the broch may have been used for more than just defensive purposes. The question remains: was it a home, a stronghold, or a place of ritual? Some speculate that the broch was a residence for a powerful clan leader, while others believe that it was a place where important ceremonial events took place, perhaps related to the changing of seasons, or to rites that connected the living to the ancestral spirits of the land. There are other, more speculative ideas about the broch's purpose, ideas that venture into the realm of the esoteric. Could the Broch of Mousa have been built with a knowledge of astronomy, its design aligned with celestial bodies or natural phenomena? The Shetland Islands, with their long nights and dark skies, would have been a perfect place for early astronomers to observe the stars. Some believe that the structure's height and shape could have been used to track the movements of the sun or the moon, marking the passage of time or the arrival of key seasonal events. Was the broch designed with the stars in mind, as a tool for guiding both the spiritual and agricultural lives of its people? Another theory, though still speculative, suggests that the broch could have served as a kind of early lighthouse, guiding ships through the treacherous waters of the North Sea. This idea is supported by the broch's visibility from miles around and its location at the edge of a prominent headland, making it a natural landmark for sailors navigating the islands. However, there is little concrete evidence to suggest that this was the primary function of the broch, and many scholars argue that the idea of a lighthouse may be anachronistic, given that the technology required to build such a structure would not have been available at the time. Yet, no theory fully explains the broch's enduring mystery. The precision with which it was built, the materials used, and the sheer scale of the structure all suggest a level of sophistication that seems beyond the capabilities of a simple Iron Age society. The ability to construct such a building, using only local resources and tools, points to a deep understanding of both architecture and engineering. How were the stones cut and fitted so perfectly? How were the walls able to withstand centuries of weathering without crumbling? And what role did the Broch play in the larger context of the ancient Shetland society? The Broch of Mousa, standing resolute against the harsh elements of the Shetland Islands, continues to pose more questions than answers. It is a monument to the ingenuity and skill of a people whose names have long been lost to history, yet whose legacy endures in stone. It reminds us that, even in an age where we think we understand the fundamentals of construction and design, ancient civilizations were capable of feats that continue to challenge our imagination. As we stand before this ancient tower, we are reminded that the past is never fully revealed. The Broch of Mousa, in all its mystery, invites us to ask, what did the people who built it truly understand about the world around them? Were they simply responding to practical needs, or were they driven by a deeper, more profound vision that we can only begin to comprehend? What knowledge remains hidden in the stone, waiting to be uncovered? As we leave the towering stone walls of the Broch of Mousa behind, we journey southward, across the seas to the sun-drenched hills of Spain, where another ancient structure waits, silent and unyielding to the passing of time. Here, in the region of Valencia, lies the Dolmen de la Pastora, a megalithic tomb that has stood for over 4,000 years, a quiet sentinel to a forgotten era. Set against the backdrop of rolling hills and olive groves, this dolmen seems almost like a natural feature of the landscape, as if it had always been a part of the earth itself. The Dolmen de la Pastora is a monumental structure, made up of a large capstone that weighs several tons, supported by upright stones. It is part of a larger collection of dolmens that date back to the Neolithic period, belonging to the Iberian culture that inhabited the region long before the rise of written history. The dolmen consists of a small chamber, roughly 3 meters in length, surrounded by a circular cairn, an accumulation of stones that once formed a burial mound. The large capstone, which now lies in a slightly tilted position, would have originally been set flat across the upright stones, creating a roofed chamber for the interment of the dead. At first glance, the dolmen might seem like just another ancient burial site, yet there is something distinctly captivating about its design. The precise alignment of the stones, the careful placement of the massive capstone, and the strategic location of the dolmen within the landscape all suggest that the builders were not simply concerned with the practicalities of burial, but with the symbolism and meaning embedded in the structure itself. Was this a place designed for more than just physical remembrance? Could it have served a role in a larger cosmological understanding of life, death, and the afterlife? The most striking feature of the Dolmen de la Pastora is its alignment. Like many ancient megalithic structures, this dolmen appears to have been carefully positioned to correspond with celestial events. During the winter solstice, the rising sun aligns perfectly with the entrance of the dolmen, casting its first rays directly into the chamber. This alignment suggests that the builders of the dolmen may have had a sophisticated understanding of the movements of the sun and its significance to their agricultural and spiritual practices. Was the dolmen a kind of celestial calendar, marking key moments in the year? Could it have been a space where the passage of the seasons was ritually observed, where the cycles of death and rebirth were mirrored in the movements of the heavens? But while the solar alignment is impressive, it raises more questions than answers. How did the builders of the dolmen, with their relatively simple tools and techniques, have the knowledge to align such a structure with such precision? The angle of the capstone, the placement of the upright stones, Everything about this dolmen suggests an understanding of geometry and astronomy that seems far ahead of its time. How were these early people able to measure the Earth with such accuracy, long before the advent of advanced surveying equipment or written systems of measurement? Some researchers have proposed that the dolmen may have had a dual purpose, both as a burial site and as a ritual space. The chamber within the dolmen, though small, may have been used not only for the interment of the dead, but also for ceremonial practices, where the living and the deceased were believed to interact. Could it have been a site for ancestor worship, where the spirits of the dead were honored and invoked? Was the dolmen a place where the boundary between life and death was seen as fluid, where the souls of the departed could be called upon to guide or protect the living? There is also the question of the dolmen's placement in the landscape. Unlike some megalithic structures, which are often built on high ground to provide a commanding view of the surrounding area, the Dolmen de la Pastora is situated in a relatively low-lying area, nestled among the hills. Was this location chosen for practical reasons, such as proximity to water or fertile land, or did it have a more symbolic significance? Some have suggested that the dolmen's placement may have been connected to the flow of energy through the land, an ancient concept of earth energy that many cultures believed to be present in specific locations. Could the builders have selected this site because they believed it to be imbued with special powers, perhaps linked to the cycles of nature or the spirits of the land? One of the most fascinating aspects of the Dolmen de la Pastora is the evidence of its continued use and ritual significance long after its initial construction. Excavations of the site have revealed not only the remains of those buried within the chamber, but also artifacts and offerings, stone tools, pottery shards, and animal bones, indicating that the site was revisited for centuries after its construction. Could these offerings have been made in honor of the deceased, or were they part of a longer, ongoing ritual that connected the living with their ancestors? The presence of these artifacts suggests that the dolmen may have been a site of pilgrimage, drawing people from distant regions who sought to commune with the spirits or seek guidance from their ancestors. Despite the wealth of archaeological data available, much about the Dolmen de la Pastora remains speculative. While we know that it was a burial site and that its builders possessed a sophisticated understanding of the natural world, the deeper meaning behind the dolmen remains elusive. Was it a simple burial mound, or a complex ritual center that served as a focal point for an entire community's beliefs? The alignment with the solstice suggests that the dolmen may have had a much broader cosmic significance. Perhaps it was designed to connect the earthly realm with the heavens, to serve as a kind of gateway between the living and the dead, or even as a physical embodiment of the cycle of life and death. As we stand before this ancient structure, gazing at the weathered stones and the quiet landscape that surrounds it, we are reminded that the true meaning of the Dolmen de la Pastora may never be fully understood. The answers lie buried in the earth, and the stones, while they offer us a glimpse into the past, remain silent, unwilling to speak their secrets. What did the builders know about the rhythms of the natural world, and how did they encode their understanding of life, death, and the cosmos into the very stones of the dolmen? These are questions that continue to echo through the ages, inviting us to wonder, what truths are still hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered? Leaving behind the ancient, sun-drenched dolmens of Spain, we travel eastward into the rugged highlands of Georgia, a land where history's layers are woven into the very fabric of the earth. Here, nestled between the towering peaks of the Caucasus Mountains, lies a site of stunning antiquity and mysterious purpose, Abuli Fortress. Located on the slopes of Mount Abuli, this fortress has stood for millennia, its stone walls weathered by time but still defiant, still guarding secrets about its origins, its builders, and its purpose. Abuli Fortress is a striking structure, perched high above the landscape, offering a commanding view of the valley below. The fortress complex is made up of a series of fortifications, including walls, towers, and defensive gates, some of which are remarkably well preserved despite centuries of erosion and neglect. Its design is simple yet effective. Built into the very rock of the mountain, the fortress appears to rise organically from the earth, as though it was grown from the land itself. The walls are constructed from large, carefully shaped stones, arranged with a precision that suggests the builders had not only a deep understanding of engineering, but also a mastery of the natural landscape. What stands out most about Abuli Fortress, however, is its location. Positioned on the steep, nearly inaccessible slopes of Mount Abuli, the fortress seems to have been strategically placed for defense. The surrounding terrain is rugged, with cliffs and dense forests making it nearly impossible for enemies to approach without being seen. The fortress offers a clear view of the valley below, providing its inhabitants with ample time to prepare for any threat. But was its primary purpose purely defensive, or did it serve another function? Could the builders have had a broader vision for this site, one that intertwined the fortress with the natural elements in ways we have yet to fully understand? The fortress is believed to date back to the 5th or 6th century CE, a time when the region was a crossroads for various cultures and empires. The area was part of the ancient kingdom of Iberia, and the fortress likely served as both a military stronghold and a royal residence. It is thought that Abuli was built during a period of increasing conflict, as various groups sought to control the strategic mountain passes that linked the Caucasus with the rest of the ancient world. The fortress would have been a critical point of defense in this turbulent time, a symbol of power and resilience in the face of constant threats. Yet, as with many ancient sites, questions linger about the exact nature of the fortress and its role in the region's history. While its military function is clear, there are no definitive records to explain who built Abuli Fortress or why it was placed in such a remote location. Some scholars believe it was constructed by local kings to defend against invading forces, while others speculate that it may have been part of a larger network of fortifications that connected various kingdoms in the region. Could the builders have been protecting not just their land, but a treasure, or perhaps even knowledge they deemed too valuable to fall into the wrong hands? Another layer of mystery surrounds the construction techniques used to build the fortress. The sheer scale and precision of the stonework suggest that the builders had an advanced understanding of both architecture and natural forces. The walls of Abuli Fortress are constructed using large, carefully hewn stones, and yet they fit together so precisely that no mortar was necessary to hold them in place. This technique, known as dry stone construction, is still admired for its durability and resilience, and it raises the question of how these ancient builders were able to transport and position such massive stones, especially considering the rugged terrain and the lack of advanced technology. Was the construction of Abuli Fortress part of a tradition of megalithic architecture that extended across the region? And if so, what knowledge did these builders possess about the forces of nature and the materials they worked with? There are also the curious features of the fortress itself. For example, one of the most striking aspects of Abuli Fortress is its unusual use of space. The fortress is built into the side of a mountain, and yet its interior chambers are arranged in a way that suggests a complex understanding of space and proportion. Some researchers believe that the layout of the fortress may have been designed not only for military efficiency, but also to harness natural energy, such as wind or water. Could the fortress have been built with the specific intent of using the mountain's natural forces to enhance its defenses, or even as a means of communication or signaling? As we explore the structure further, it becomes clear that there may be more to Abuli Fortress than meets the eye. The ancient builders who constructed this monumental fortress likely had access to knowledge or techniques that have been lost to history. The precise placement of the fortress, its integration with the natural landscape, and the intricate design of the walls all suggest that the site was not just a utilitarian structure, but a work of art, a place that held deeper meaning for its creators. Some theorists propose that the fortress's strategic location and its connection to the surrounding landscape could indicate that Abuli was not simply a military outpost, but a symbolic center, an expression of power, knowledge, and perhaps even spiritual significance. Was it built to align with specific astronomical events, such as the rising and setting of the sun or the moon? Could its design reflect ancient cosmological beliefs, connecting the earthly realm with the heavens in a way that is still not fully understood? The idea that the fortress was built not only to defend, but to reflect a larger worldview, where the natural world was seen as an extension of the divine, is a compelling one. There is also the possibility that Abuli Fortress was a site of religious or ritual importance. The location of the fortress, atop a mountain, far from the settled plains below, could have been seen as a sacred place, a threshold between the earthly realm and the divine. Could the fortress have been used for ceremonies or rituals that involved the natural forces of the mountain itself, drawing upon the energy of the earth and sky for protection, guidance, or power? Was the fortress not only a place of defense, but a place where the living could connect with the spiritual realm, where the boundaries between the physical and metaphysical worlds were thin? Despite the advances in our understanding of ancient civilizations, Abuli Fortress remains an enigma. Its builders, their motivations, and their knowledge are shrouded in mystery, leaving us to wonder what truths still lie hidden in the stones and the mountainside. Could Abuli Fortress be more than just a military outpost? Could it have been part of a much larger vision, one that connected the natural, human, and spiritual worlds in ways we have yet to comprehend? As we stand before the fortress, we are left to contemplate the mysteries that still linger in the silent stone, waiting for us to uncover them if we can. Leaving behind the towering walls of Abuli Fortress and its shadowy connection to ancient fortifications, we now turn our attention to a place that holds a different kind of mystery, one that speaks to the passage of time, to life and death, and to the rituals of a long-lost society. Far to the southeast, in the desolate deserts of Oman, lies a burial ground of astonishing complexity and precision, the Bat, Al-Khutm, and Al-Ayn necropolis. This extraordinary site, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, contains some of the oldest and most intricate funerary architecture in the Arabian Peninsula, offering a silent testament to the ingenuity of the early civilizations that once called this arid land home. The necropolis is a sprawling complex of over 100 tombs, each a unique structure, with the most famous being the monumental beehive tombs that dot the landscape like forgotten sentinels. These tombs, constructed from massive stone slabs, rise up from the earth in a shape reminiscent of giant beehives, hence the name, reaching up to 7 meters in height. The precision with which these stones were cut and stacked, along with their sheer scale, suggests that the builders possessed an advanced understanding of architecture and mathematics, and had access to a labor force capable of carrying out such an ambitious project. What is most striking about the Bat necropolis, in particular, is its careful alignment. The tombs, while varying in size and design, are all positioned with an exactness that hints at a deliberate attempt to align them with the natural and celestial world. Some of the tombs seem to be oriented towards specific mountain ranges or key points on the horizon. Could the placement of these tombs have been intended to reflect the cosmos, a belief in the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth? Could the builders have seen the tombs not just as places to honor the dead, but as structures that reflected their spiritual or cosmological worldview? One of the most captivating aspects of this necropolis is the sheer scale and diversity of the tombs. Some are small, simple structures, just a few stones stacked together to create a modest grave, but others are vast, imposing constructions that seem to rise directly out of the desert floor. These larger tombs, known as Qadir tombs, often contain elaborate chambers and passageways, some of which were designed to hold multiple individuals. The tombs vary in form, some resembling simple burial mounds, while others have circular or rectangular layouts, suggesting that the builders experimented with different architectural styles over time. In addition to their size and architectural sophistication, the tombs of Bat, Al-Khutm, and Al-Ayn contain a wealth of intriguing artifacts. Tools, pottery, and personal items have been unearthed in and around the tombs, providing a glimpse into the lives of the people who were buried here. Many of these items, ranging from intricately carved stone figurines to delicate jewelry, are of such high craftsmanship that it raises the question of what these objects represented in the spiritual or cultural life of the people. Were they offerings to the gods, symbols of status, or perhaps tools to assist the dead on their journey to the afterlife? There is also the question of the builders themselves. While much of the necropolis dates back to the 3rd millennium BCE, the identity of the people who created these tombs remains unclear. The necropolis is thought to have been used by the early civilizations of the region, possibly the Al-Khutm people, but little is known about their culture, their language, or their exact relationship to the other ancient civilizations of the Arabian Peninsula. The tombs at Bat, Al-Khutm, and Al-Ayn were not just burial sites. They were elaborate constructions, evidence of a sophisticated society capable of organizing large-scale construction projects, working with heavy stones, and planning for long-term preservation. Could the tombs have had a more complex, symbolic purpose beyond the simple act of burial? Some scholars believe that the builders of these tombs may have been influenced by ancient beliefs about the afterlife, in which the dead were not simply interred in the earth, but were thought to ascend to the heavens, or perhaps journey through a series of spiritual realms. The alignment of the tombs with the natural landscape and the apparent care with which they were constructed suggests that the builders were not just concerned with the physical act of burial, but with the spiritual journey that followed. Could the tombs, in their placement and design, have been intended as a kind of sacred pathway, guiding the deceased through the afterlife? Was the land itself seen as a kind of cosmic map, with the tombs acting as markers along a journey that spanned both earthly and celestial realms? Another intriguing possibility is that the necropolis was a site of ancestral worship or communal reverence. The repeated construction of these tombs over centuries suggests that the people who used the site may have had a strong sense of lineage and familial continuity. The tombs were not just built to house the dead, but to commemorate them, to keep their memory alive in the physical world. Could these tombs have served as a means of connecting the living with their ancestors? Were the people who built these tombs trying to create a permanent legacy, an enduring symbol of their presence in the world? Some more speculative theories suggest that the site could have been used for astronomical or religious purposes. The alignment of the tombs, the use of specific natural features in the construction, and the orientation of the structures could indicate that the builders had a sophisticated understanding of astronomy. Were the tombs positioned to mark key solar or lunar events, such as solstices or eclipses? Some even suggest that the site could have been a kind of celestial observatory, where the rising and setting of stars, planets, or the sun played a significant role in the lives of the people. Could these tombs have been seen as a kind of gateway to the stars, where the dead were thought to travel, and where their souls were believed to become part of the cosmos? Despite these fascinating theories, many questions about the Bat, Al-Khutm, and Al-Ayn necropolis remain unanswered. The site is an extraordinary testament to the advanced architectural and spiritual knowledge of its builders, yet the true meaning behind these structures, why they were built, how they were aligned with the natural and celestial world, and what role they played in the lives of the people, remains shrouded in mystery. The tombs, with their carefully arranged stones and their silent presence in the desert, speak to us across millennia, inviting us to ask, What truths are still hidden beneath the sands of Oman? What ancient knowledge has been lost, and what might still be waiting to be discovered? As we stand before these ancient tombs, surrounded by the vast desert, the answers seem as distant as the stars above. Yet the Bat, Al-Khutm, and Al-Ayn necropolis remain a powerful reminder that the past, no matter how distant, continues to whisper its secrets. Perhaps in time we will uncover more, and perhaps these ancient tombs will offer us yet more mysteries to ponder if we are willing to listen. From the sun-baked deserts of Oman, we now journey to the fertile plains of southern Spain, where a different kind of prehistoric mystery awaits. Amidst the olive groves and rolling hills of Andalusia, nestled within the landscape like an ancient secret waiting to be uncovered, stands the Tholos of El Romeral. This remarkable structure, often overlooked in favor of its more famous counterparts, offers us a glimpse into a civilization that left behind few written records but a rich legacy of stone. Here, in the heart of the Iberian Peninsula, the Tholos of El Romeral stands as both a testament to human ingenuity and a profound enigma, its purpose, design, and meaning still debated by historians and archaeologists alike. The Tholos of El Romeral is part of a network of megalithic tombs known as Tholos tombs, built by the ancient peoples of the Iberian Peninsula during the late Neolithic and early Bronze Ages, around 2500 BCE. This particular Tholos is a burial mound, but its construction is far from simple. At the center of the site stands a circular stone chamber, constructed with a precision that suggests an advanced understanding of engineering. The walls are built using large, carefully hewn stones, stacked in a way that creates a smooth, dome-like structure, almost like a giant beehive. The entrance is small but imposing, leading into a narrow passage that opens up into the central chamber. What immediately strikes you about the Tholos of El Romeral is its sheer scale and the meticulous care with which it was built. The stones used in the construction, some weighing several tons, were transported and positioned with a level of skill and coordination that would be impressive even by today's standards. The passageway leading into the tomb, though narrow, is precisely aligned, and the roof is constructed in a corbelled manner, where each stone is slightly shifted inward as it rises, creating a self-supporting structure that has withstood the test of time. The chamber itself, once the final resting place of the deceased, has been almost entirely preserved, providing a rare glimpse into the construction techniques of the period. While it is clear that the Tholos of El Romeral served as a burial site, the exact nature of its design and purpose remains a mystery. Some scholars suggest that the Tholos was built for a specific individual or group of elites, acting as both a tomb and a ceremonial space. The careful construction of the chamber, the alignment of the passageway, and the use of massive stones all point to a structure that was more than just a practical burial site. It was a statement, a monument to the deceased and their place in the world. But could there have been another, more symbolic reason behind its creation? As with many prehistoric structures, the question of why the Tholos was built in such a particular way leads us to consider the possibility that the builders had a deeper understanding of the world around them, perhaps even an understanding that connected the tomb to the heavens above. Like many ancient cultures, the people who constructed the Tholos of El Romeral may have believed that death was not an end, but a transition to another realm. The alignment of the tomb and the precision with which it was built suggest that it may have been designed to reflect the cosmic order, a structure that was as much about the spiritual journey of the deceased as it was about the physical burial. Could the Tholos have been aligned with celestial events, like the solstices or equinoxes, marking the passage of time and the cyclical nature of life and death? The placement of the entrance, the direction of the passage, and even the shape of the tomb could indicate a deliberate attempt to connect the earthly realm with the sky, to harness the power of the sun, the stars, or the moon in the burial ritual. Some researchers have suggested that the passageway may have been aligned with the setting sun on specific dates, allowing the light to enter the tomb and illuminate the chamber, symbolizing the journey of the deceased into the afterlife. If true, this would imply that the builders of the Tholos had a sophisticated understanding of the movements of celestial bodies and their influence on life on Earth. There are also suggestions that the Tholos of El Romeral, like many other megalithic tombs, may have been part of a larger cultural or religious practice that extended across the region. The Tholos was not an isolated structure, but one of many similar tombs that dot the Iberian landscape, some of which are linked by a network of paths or alignments. Was the Tholos part of a larger ritual landscape, where the dead were laid to rest in a way that connected them to the natural and spiritual world? Was there a belief that the tombs themselves formed a kind of sacred geometry, a network of energy lines or celestial markers that guided the deceased on their journey? The use of megalithic structures for burial is not unique to the Iberian Peninsula, of course. Similar tombs, dolmens, and cairns are found across Europe and the Mediterranean. But the Tholos of El Romeral stands out due to the quality of its construction and the precision with which it was built. It speaks to a people who were capable of creating a structure that could endure for thousands of years, a structure that would withstand the elements and the ravages of time. The tomb's design is remarkably similar to other Tholos tombs found in the region, yet it carries a unique set of features that make it distinct, including its alignment, the choice of materials, and the internal layout. One particularly intriguing aspect of the Tholos of El Romeral is the presence of what could be seen as symbolic features, such as the size and arrangement of the stones, which may have been intentionally designed to evoke certain meanings. Could the builders have embedded cosmic or spiritual symbolism into the very structure of the tomb, using geometry and mathematics to reflect their understanding of the world? Some have speculated that the Tholos may have been part of an early form of sacred architecture, in which the principles of design and construction were not just functional, but carried a deeper spiritual significance. Despite the many theories that attempt to explain the purpose and meaning behind the Tholos of El Romeral, much remains uncertain. The structure, like many prehistoric sites, holds its secrets tightly, offering clues but not definitive answers. Were the builders simply creating a functional burial site, or were they constructing a monument to something far more profound, a reflection of their beliefs about the cosmos, the afterlife, and the eternal connection between the living and the dead? Could the Tholos have served as a spiritual tool, designed to align the deceased with the movements of the heavens, guiding them through the afterlife? As we stand before the Tholos of El Romeral, gazing at the weathered stones and the careful symmetry of its design, we are reminded that the true meaning behind this ancient monument may forever remain beyond our grasp. The builders of the Tholos have long since passed, but their vision, encoded in the very structure of the tomb, still challenges us to look deeper, into the past, into the heavens, and into the mysteries that have yet to be uncovered. What did they know about the world, and what did they seek to communicate through this remarkable structure? Perhaps in time, we will uncover more answers. But for now, the Tholos of El Romeral stands as a quiet testament to the mysteries of the ancient world, inviting us to wonder what secrets it still holds. As we leave the rich megalithic landscapes of Andalusia behind, our journey takes us to another corner of the ancient world, to the rugged hills of northern Greece, where the Dolmen of Roknia stands, an enigmatic stone structure that has puzzled archaeologists and researchers for generations. Tucked away in the fertile plains of Thessaly, near the modern town of Volos, the Dolmen of Roknia sits quietly, weathered by the centuries yet stubbornly holding on to its secrets. Its stones, some as large as small buildings, seem to have a story to tell, but like many prehistoric structures, that story has long been lost to time. The Dolmen of Roknia is not just any burial site. It is a massive, megalithic tomb, a type of structure commonly found throughout Europe, but this particular dolmen is distinctive. What makes Roknia so compelling, and why it continues to intrigue those who study ancient civilizations, is its design. Like the grand tombs of Stonehenge and the Tholos tombs of Spain, this dolmen appears to be not only a functional burial site but also an architectural marvel, built with remarkable precision and an almost mysterious understanding of the land. The dolmen itself consists of a large stone chamber, which would have originally been covered by a massive capstone. This capstone, now fallen and cracked from the weight of time, would have once formed the roof of the chamber. The chamber is surrounded by a circular arrangement of smaller stones, and the entrance, though partially collapsed, still offers a glimpse into the dark interior. The stones used in the construction of the dolmen are enormous, some weighing several tons, and they fit together with such precision that they appear to have been carefully selected and shaped for their purpose. The placement of the dolmen, perched on a low hill, offers a commanding view of the surrounding landscape, yet it is carefully hidden from view from the valley below, suggesting that its placement was deliberate, perhaps to serve both a functional and symbolic role. This mysterious burial chamber is part of a group of similar structures, scattered across the region of Thessaly. Yet the Dolmen of Roknia stands out for its scale and design. While many dolmens are simple affairs, with a few stones stacked together to form a crude chamber, the Dolmen of Roknia is far more elaborate. Some have speculated that it was built for a leader or a person of significant importance, someone whose burial required a structure more grandiose than the simpler graves of the surrounding area. But what else might the builders have been trying to convey through this impressive structure? One of the most intriguing aspects of the Dolmen of Roknia is its alignment with the landscape. Although the dolmen is situated on a low rise, it is positioned in such a way that it aligns with the surrounding natural features, suggesting that the builders had a sophisticated understanding of the terrain. The orientation of the tomb, the placement of the stones, and the specific location of the structure all suggest a deliberate attempt to connect the tomb with the natural world in a way that transcends mere practical considerations. Could the builders have believed that the dolmen acted as a conduit between the living and the dead, with its precise alignment facilitating some form of spiritual connection or communication? In many ways, the Dolmen of Roknia echoes the mysteries found in other ancient sites where the dead were not merely buried but placed within a framework that reflected their beliefs about life and the cosmos. The alignment of many dolmens, including Roknia, often points toward significant celestial events, like solstices or equinoxes. Could this dolmen have been designed to align with the setting sun on specific days of the year, or perhaps the movement of the moon across the sky? Was the burial chamber designed to catch the light at certain times, casting a beam of sunlight into the chamber to illuminate the dead? These celestial alignments were not uncommon in the megalithic world, and the idea that the builders of the Dolmen of Roknia used the heavens as a guide for their construction is both plausible and captivating. Another intriguing question surrounding the Dolmen of Roknia is its construction technique. How were such enormous stones transported and placed with such precision, especially considering the limited technology available to the builders? Some researchers have posited that the dolmen may have been part of a broader tradition of megalithic architecture that spanned much of Europe and the Mediterranean, suggesting that the builders of Roknia were part of a network of societies with shared knowledge and techniques. Could the builders of the dolmen have had access to some form of advanced knowledge, lost to history, that allowed them to create such an enduring structure? Interestingly, there are also theories that the dolmen could have had a ceremonial or ritualistic function beyond its role as a tomb. The grandeur of the structure, combined with its precise alignment to the natural world, suggests that the site could have been a center for important rites or gatherings. Could the dolmen have served as a focal point for seasonal celebrations or spiritual practices? Could it have been a place where the living communicated with the dead, or where rites of passage were conducted to ensure the safe passage of the soul into the afterlife? In addition to its potential spiritual significance, the Dolmen of Roknia also offers a glimpse into the social structure of the people who built it. The sheer scale and effort required to construct such a tomb suggest that the builders had a well-organized society, capable of coordinating large-scale projects. The use of massive stones and the precision required to place them indicate a high level of craftsmanship, and it is likely that the dolmen was not just the work of a few individuals, but the result of coordinated labor by an entire community. What does this tell us about the social hierarchy of the people who built it? Was the dolmen reserved for a particular class or group of people, perhaps a ruling elite? Or was it a communal effort that reflected the collective values and beliefs of the society? As we stand before the Dolmen of Roknia, it is impossible not to be struck by the mystery that surrounds it. Its sheer scale, its precise construction, and its enigmatic placement all speak to a people who were capable of building not just for the practical needs of the living, but for something deeper, something that transcended the physical world. Was this tomb a simple burial site, or was it a monument to a much broader worldview, one in which the connection between the dead, the living, and the cosmos was seen as something sacred? The Dolmen of Roknia, like so many other prehistoric sites, remains an enigma. Though we have uncovered some of its secrets, its age, its purpose as a tomb, its architectural sophistication, much remains beyond our grasp. The tomb, with its quiet presence on the hill, holds its mysteries close, inviting us to ponder. What did the builders of this dolmen know about the world that we have yet to discover? What deeper knowledge, perhaps lost to time, might still lie hidden within the stones, waiting to be uncovered? As we continue to explore the ancient world, the Dolmen of Roknia stands as a powerful reminder that, sometimes, the most profound mysteries are the ones that remain unsolved, waiting for us to look deeper and ask more questions. From the stone chambers of Roknia, we move eastward into the arid, sun-scorched landscape of the Middle East, where yet another ancient mystery lies hidden in the rugged terrain. Beneath the shadow of the Dead Sea, in an area known for its historical significance and its connection to ancient texts, stands a set of megalithic walls that seem to defy simple explanation. These are the Qumran megalithic walls, an enigmatic feature of the Judean desert, whose purpose and origin remain largely unknown. As we approach the site, the walls, constructed with large, carefully shaped stones, seem to rise from the desert floor like silent sentinels, watching over a landscape that has seen countless civilizations come and go. The Qumran area is most famous for its association with the Dead Sea Scrolls, ancient manuscripts that have shed light on the religious and cultural history of the region. But the megalithic walls, scattered across the site, add a layer of complexity to the story of Qumran, suggesting a much older, more enigmatic purpose. These walls are not the crude, haphazard constructions one might expect from ancient desert dwellers. Rather, they are precision-built, with carefully placed stones that seem to have been chosen not only for their size and strength, but also for their form. They were crafted with such intent that they have withstood the harsh desert winds and scorching heat for millennia. And yet, for all their durability, their purpose remains an enigma. The Qumran walls are different from the simple dry stone constructions commonly found in other parts of the world. These walls are more intricate. Some are built in curved lines, others in geometric shapes with corners and angles that suggest a deep understanding of architectural principles. The craftsmanship is impressive, indicating a civilization capable of creating lasting structures, even in one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth. The stones used in the construction are large, and many of them are shaped with an almost mathematical precision. The walls themselves are substantial, some stretching for hundreds of meters across the desert floor, while others are smaller, serving as enclosures or barriers. Despite their remarkable construction, the Qumran walls do not appear to have served as defensive structures, as one might expect in a region where military conflict was common. The walls are not built to protect a city or a settlement. Instead, their positioning and layout seem to suggest that they may have had a different function, one that ties them to the spiritual or ceremonial practices of the people who built them. Could these walls have been part of a religious complex, a structure built to mark a sacred space or to direct the energies of the land in a specific way? Some theorists suggest that these walls may have been used to align the site with celestial events, creating a kind of ritual landscape where the movement of the stars, sun, or moon played a significant role. The Qumran area is known for its association with the Essene community, a Jewish sect that lived during the Second Temple period. The Essenes were known for their strict religious practices and their focus on purification and ritual. Could the walls be connected to their beliefs and practices, perhaps serving as part of a larger ceremonial site, marking a threshold between the human and divine? Some scholars have posited that the walls were part of an effort to create a sacred boundary, a physical and symbolic space where the Essenes could perform their rituals and connect with the divine. This idea is supported by the placement of the walls, which are arranged in a way that appears to focus inward, directing attention toward a central space that may have served as a place for meditation or worship. The most intriguing aspect of the Qumran walls, however, is their possible connection to astronomical phenomena. Like many ancient cultures, the people of the Qumran area may have been keenly aware of the movements of the stars, planets, and the sun. The walls, with their precise alignments, could have been designed to mark important celestial events, such as solstices, equinoxes, or the rising and setting of specific stars. Some researchers have pointed out that the walls may have served as markers for these events, acting as a kind of celestial calendar. Could these walls have been part of a larger ritualistic framework, where the positioning of the stones and the layout of the site were used to track the passage of time, or to align with the movements of the heavens? Or to align with the movements of the heavens. While the connection between the Qumran walls and astronomical events is intriguing, it remains speculative. There is no direct evidence to prove that the walls were constructed with this purpose in mind, but the alignment of the structures with the natural world is difficult to ignore. The positioning of the stones, the curves and angles of the walls, and the use of large, precisely cut stones all suggest that the builders had a deep understanding of geometry and the natural world. Were they aligning the walls with the heavens, or was there another, more practical reason for their construction? Another theory that has been proposed is that the Qumran walls were part of a larger network of ritual or religious structures that spanned the region. Some researchers have suggested that the walls were designed to create a spiritual landscape, where the placement of the stones and the layout of the site were intended to channel or direct energy. This idea is supported by the fact that the walls are not merely functional, they are designed with an almost artistic sensibility, as if the builders were not just trying to create a boundary or enclosure, but were also aiming to craft a place of power, a space where the physical world and the spiritual realm could intersect. Was the Qumran site a place of ritual transformation, where the movement of energy was channeled through the walls and into the hearts of those who inhabited the space? Despite these various theories, the Qumran megalithic walls remain an enigma. The true purpose behind their construction, the identity of the builders, and the meaning of the structures remain unclear. Were the walls a product of the Essene community's religious practices, or were they built by another group altogether? Were they part of a ritualistic landscape, designed to align with celestial events, or did they serve a more practical function? Perhaps the walls were meant to create a space of sacred significance, where the boundaries between the human and divine could be crossed. As we stand before these ancient walls, the questions continue to multiply. The stones, worn by centuries of desert winds and the weight of time, speak to us in silence. What knowledge did the builders of Qumran possess, and what understanding of the cosmos and the earth guided their work? Could the walls be more than just a structure, but a gateway, a portal to understanding the unseen forces that shape our world? The mystery of the Qumran megalithic walls is one that invites us to look deeper into the past, to ask more questions, and to wonder what truths remain hidden within the stones, and what might we still uncover in the quiet desert, waiting to be discovered. From the arid landscapes of the Judean desert, we now shift our gaze westward, to a windswept moor in the heart of Cornwall, England. Here, amidst the rolling hills and quiet fields, stands a small yet profoundly mysterious megalithic structure that has captivated scholars, travelers, and historians for centuries: the Men-an-Tol lesser stones. This simple, seemingly unremarkable arrangement of stones carries with it an aura of ancient significance, one that continues to evade definitive explanation. Standing before these stones, one might be forgiven for thinking they are just another part of the long tradition of British stone circles. Yet there is something different about Men-an-Tol, a peculiar presence that draws us closer, urging us to ask, what was the true purpose behind these stones, and why do they continue to intrigue us? At first glance, the Men-an-Tol lesser stones appear modest, a pair of upright stones flanking a central circular stone, which is perforated by a hole large enough for a person to pass through. This central stone, with its mysterious hole, is the focal point of the structure, the object that commands the most attention. The arrangement is simple yet elegant, 4 stones in total, standing upright in the shape of a small circle. The stones themselves are made of granite, weathered by centuries of wind and rain, their surfaces rough and uneven, as if the forces of nature have gradually worn them down over time. The circular stone, with its unmistakable hole, stands slightly tilted, as though time itself has nudged it into its current position. What makes the Men-an-Tol lesser stones so captivating is the enigmatic hole in the center. The size and shape of the hole suggests that it was deliberately created, not a natural formation, but a feature of design. How was it carved? And more importantly, why was it carved in the first place? The hole is large enough for a person to pass through, and for centuries, this has led to speculation about the stone's symbolic or ritualistic role. What function did the hole serve in the belief systems of the people who erected the stones? Theories about the Men-an-Tol. Lesser stones abound, and while none can be proven conclusively, they are fascinating in their variety and range. Some believe that the hole in the central stone was a portal, a gateway through which individuals could pass to another world, perhaps a spiritual or metaphysical realm. In some ancient cultures, stones with holes were thought to act as conduits, connecting the earthly and divine realms. Could this stone have been seen as a symbolic threshold, a place where the living could interact with the dead or communicate with the gods? The hole's size and position suggest that it may have had a specific ritualistic purpose, perhaps one that involved human participation, a rite or ceremony conducted by those who understood its significance. Others have suggested that the Men-an-Tol lesser stones served as an ancient healing site. In the 18th and 19th centuries, local folklore associated the stone with various health benefits, particularly for ailments such as back pain. It was believed that passing through the hole in the stone, especially by children or those suffering from certain afflictions, could cure diseases or bring about healing. While this theory may sound quaint by modern standards, it hints at a deeper, more symbolic connection between the physical world and the metaphysical, a connection that may have been more widely accepted by ancient societies. Could the hole have been seen as a healing portal, a place where the sick and the injured could enter and emerge cleansed or restored? The placement of the stones, too, raises intriguing questions. Unlike some stone circles, which are often aligned with celestial events such as solstices or equinoxes, there is no clear evidence that the Men-an-Tol lesser stones are aligned with any particular astronomical event. However, their position, at the foot of the rugged slopes of the nearby Cairngalver Hill, suggests that the site was chosen with care. Was it chosen because of its proximity to other sacred sites, or because of its relationship with the landscape? In many ancient cultures, the positioning of stones was not arbitrary, but part of a larger belief system that involved the land itself. Could the location of the Men-an-Tol stones have been chosen for its connection to the natural features of the area, an alignment with the flow of water, the rise of a particular star, or the shape of the land that was believed to have a spiritual significance? As we delve deeper into the mystery surrounding the Men-an-Tol lesser stones, we find that their purpose cannot be easily explained by any one theory. The stones, though small, seem to carry a weight far beyond their size. Were they part of a larger ceremonial or burial site lost to time and erosion? Or were they simply a local marker, a place where the people of the region could come to perform specific rites or rituals? Given that the stones are situated near other prehistoric sites in Cornwall, it is possible that Men-an-Tol was part of a much broader network of ceremonial locations, all connected by shared beliefs and practices that we can only begin to understand. One possibility that stands out is the connection between the Men-an-Tol lesser stones and other ancient monuments of the British Isles. Men-an-Tol is located not far from the famous Men Scrifa, a standing stone inscribed with an ancient Ogham script, and the area is dotted with other prehistoric sites, including stone circles and burial mounds. Could these sites, including Men-an-Tol, have formed part of a larger ritual landscape, a network of stones and structures that were used for purposes we may never fully comprehend? Were these structures connected by a shared understanding of the cosmos, one that tied the earth to the heavens and the living to the dead? Moreover, the enigmatic nature of the hole in the central stone, its size, shape, and the fact that it can accommodate a human body, raises questions about ancient practices of passage and transformation. In some traditions, the act of passing through a stone with a hole was thought to symbolize a journey, a rite of passage, or a spiritual rebirth. Could the Men-an-Tol lesser stones have served such a purpose? Was the hole in the stone seen as a gateway to another realm, a place of transformation or spiritual renewal? And if so, what did the builders of Men-an-Tol believe lay beyond the threshold? There are many mysteries surrounding the Men-an-Tol lesser stones, and each new theory adds another layer to the story of this ancient site. The stones stand in the Cornish landscape, enduring through centuries of change, inviting us to reflect on what remains hidden beneath the surface. Could the purpose of the Men-an-Tol stones ever truly be uncovered? Or will their meaning remain locked in time, a puzzle we can only approach, never fully solve? As we stand before these silent stones, we are left with more questions than answers. What truths do they hold, and what knowledge was once carried through that hole, passed from one age to the next? After exploring the enigmatic megaliths of Men-an-Tol, we now travel across the Irish Sea, where the rugged cliffs of the Aran Islands await us. There, perched on the edge of a sheer precipice, stands one of Ireland's most ancient and awe-inspiring sites, Dùn Aonghasa. This prehistoric fort, built thousands of years ago, is as much a symbol of human ingenuity as it is a testament to the mysterious past of the island's early inhabitants. The sheer audacity of its construction, along with its strategic location, raises questions about its builders' understanding of both the land and the cosmos. From the moment you step onto the island of Inishmore, one of the 3 Aran Islands, the wind and sea seem to tell a story of a time long past. The landscape is stark and wild, with jagged limestone outcrops and sweeping views of the Atlantic Ocean stretching out to the horizon. At the far western edge of the island, perched precariously on a cliffside, Dùn Aonghasa stands as a silent sentinel. The fort, a prehistoric hill fort dating back to around 1500 BCE, is built into the natural landscape with such skill and precision that it seems to belong as much to the earth as to the people who constructed it. The fort's most striking feature is its location. Dùn Aonghasa is perched on a sheer limestone cliff, which drops some 30 meters to the crashing waves below. This dizzying position offers a commanding view of the surrounding waters, where the Aran Islands meet the vast expanse of the Atlantic. The builders of the fort must have chosen this spot for both its defensibility and its symbolic power. The sheer drop to the ocean suggests a belief in the sacredness of the site, a place where land and water meet, where human presence could be both fortified and elevated. The connection between the earthly and the divine seems inescapable, as if the fort's position was not only practical, but also profoundly spiritual. As you approach the fort, the first feature you encounter is its massive stone walls. Built with enormous limestone blocks, many of which are several feet in length, the walls curve around the edge of the cliff, creating a series of concentric rings that encircle a central courtyard. The outer wall, the most imposing of all, rises to heights of nearly 4 meters in some places, and the stonework is so carefully arranged that the fort has withstood centuries of harsh weather and relentless ocean winds. The walls are not mere protective barriers. They seem to have been designed with deliberate thought, incorporating the natural contours of the landscape in a way that maximizes both defense and visibility. Inside the fort, the central area remains open, suggesting that Dùn Aonghasa was not simply a military stronghold, but also a place of social and ceremonial significance. The walls are not solid, but rather composed of large, irregular stones that create alcoves and small chambers, perhaps once used for communal activities or rituals. In the center of the complex, one can imagine gatherings of people, leaders, warriors, and community members engaged in ceremonies or discussions, their voices carried on the wind, echoing out over the Atlantic. But what exactly did this site represent to its creators? Was it a fortification, a gathering place, or something more profound? One of the most striking aspects of Dùn Aonghasa is the precision with which it was built. The walls, though massive, fit together with remarkable accuracy, creating a structure that not only withstood the elements, but also mirrored the natural order of the land itself. The alignment of the fort with the surrounding landscape, particularly its positioning relative to the horizon, suggests that its builders may have had an understanding of the cosmos, or at least an awareness of the cyclical nature of time and space. Could this site have been built to align with certain astronomical events, such as the rising and setting of the sun or the solstices? Many ancient cultures, including those in Europe and the Middle East, built their structures to mark important celestial occurrences. Could the builders of Dùn Aonghasa have shared this understanding, using the fort as a tool to connect their world to the heavens? Some researchers believe that Dùn Aonghasa may have had a dual function, both as a defensive stronghold and as a ceremonial center. The fort's elevated position suggests that it could have been a watchtower of sorts, offering a commanding view of the surrounding seas and the distant horizon. It could have served as a place to spot incoming ships or potential threats, as well as a site for ritual observances tied to the cycles of the sun, moon, and stars. The careful alignment of the fort, its placement on the cliffside, and the symbolism of the natural surroundings all suggest that it was more than just a practical structure. It was a site imbued with meaning. The Dùn Aonghasa walls themselves are a marvel of prehistoric engineering. The stones, which vary in size, were carefully selected and arranged to form a sturdy barrier against the elements. But the construction techniques employed by the builders remain a source of mystery. How did they transport and arrange such massive stones, many of which are believed to have been quarried from the surrounding landscape. Some of the stones weigh several tons, and the precision with which they fit together is nothing short of remarkable. The walls, which are not made with mortar, but are instead held together by the weight of the stones themselves, suggest an advanced understanding of structural integrity. How did the builders, with their limited tools, create such a lasting monument to human ingenuity? Some scholars speculate that the construction of Dùn Aonghasa required more than just practical know-how. It may have required a deep understanding of geometry, astronomy, and the forces of nature. The placement of the stones, their size and arrangement, and the overall design of the fort all suggest that it may have been constructed with a specific cosmic or spiritual order in mind. Was it a sacred space, built to reflect the natural rhythms of the earth and sky? Did the builders understand the energy lines of the landscape, the flow of celestial bodies, and the alignment of the site with the natural world? Despite extensive archaeological investigation, the true purpose of Dùn Aonghasa remains elusive. While we know that it was a place of significance for the prehistoric people of the Aran Islands, its precise role in their society is unclear. Was it a fortress, a religious site, or a symbol of status and power? Did the people who built it consider it a bridge between the human world and the divine, a place where they could commune with the spirits of the land and sea? Or perhaps, like many ancient sites, it served multiple purposes, adapting to the needs of the people who inhabited it over generations. As we stand before the walls of Dùn Aonghasa, gazing out over the vast expanse of ocean, the mystery of its purpose continues to beckon. The fort's silent presence on the edge of the world seems to challenge us to look beyond the surface and into the deeper meanings embedded in its stones. What was the true significance of this ancient site? And what do the stones themselves still have to tell us, waiting for the right moment to reveal their secrets? As we peer into the past, we are reminded that some mysteries may never be fully solved, but that perhaps is part of their allure. As we leave the high windswept cliffs of Dùn Aonghasa behind and turn our gaze toward the undulating plains of southern England, we arrive at one of the most monumental, yet often overlooked, prehistoric sites in the world: Avebury. Nestled within the heart of the Wiltshire countryside, this expansive circle of stones, larger and less frequently visited than its more famous counterpart Stonehenge, holds within its ancient stones not just the power of mystery, but the allure of a deeper, almost cosmic significance. It is a site where the earth, the sky, and human ingenuity converge, its silent stones standing as witnesses to a forgotten age, when the boundaries between the physical world and the spiritual were believed to be thinner. At first glance, Avebury may seem like just another ancient stone circle, an imposing structure of standing stones and ditches. But as we step closer, we begin to sense something more. The sheer scale of the monument is staggering. Unlike Stonehenge, where the stones rise in tight vertical formations, Avebury stretches across a massive area, covering roughly 28 acres, making it one of the largest prehistoric sites in Europe. The circle is not confined to a single ring, but rather unfolds in a complex series of concentric circles, some of which are marked by giant stones, while others are defined by earthen embankments and ditches. What makes Avebury so captivating, beyond its size and imposing presence, is the feeling it imparts. Standing at its heart, where the stones seem to converge, the sense of vastness is overwhelming. The stones themselves vary in size. Some are small enough to touch, while others tower above, their surfaces weathered by centuries of rain, wind, and time. The stone circle is broken in places, as many of the stones have been displaced or destroyed over the centuries, leaving behind fragments of what was once a grand structure. Yet even in their incomplete state, the stones convey a silent power. It is as if the site itself is calling us to look deeper, to understand more than just the surface of what we see. The construction of Avebury is generally attributed to the Neolithic peoples of Britain, with the first major phase of construction dating back to around 2600 BCE. But this monumental task, how the stones were transported, shaped, and arranged, is still shrouded in mystery. Some of the stones are believed to weigh as much as 40 tons, and the question arises, how did a society with limited tools, without the use of the wheel or advanced technology, manage to move such massive blocks of stone across the landscape? Theories abound, from the more conventional ideas of human labor and ingenuity to more speculative explanations involving lost techniques or perhaps even astronomical knowledge far more advanced than previously assumed. The circle of stones at Avebury is not simply an arbitrary construction. Its alignment with the surrounding landscape speaks to an intricate understanding of the world. The positioning of the stones suggests they were arranged with specific attention to the celestial cycles, the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. Evidence suggests that the stone circle may have been designed to mark certain celestial events, such as the solstices or lunar eclipses. Could this massive structure have been part of a broader network of prehistoric monuments across Britain and Europe, all carefully placed to track the rhythms of the heavens? Was it a form of ancient astronomical observatory, a place where early humans gathered to chart the skies and mark the passage of time? As with other prehistoric sites, there is a prevailing theory that Avebury was not only a place of astronomical observation, but also one of religious or ritualistic significance. What was the site used for in its prime? Archaeologists and historians have long speculated that Avebury was a place where ancient people gathered for ceremonies, perhaps to honor gods or perhaps to mark significant seasonal changes. The ditches surrounding the stone circle are as significant as the stones themselves. Their size and depth suggest they may have served not just as physical boundaries, but symbolic ones, marking the division between the world of the living and that of the dead. Could Avebury have been a site for rituals connected to life, death, and rebirth, as was common in many ancient cultures? The idea of a cyclical, repeating nature of life was central to the beliefs of many prehistoric societies. Did Avebury serve as a tangible representation of this? There is also the curious fact that Avebury sits within a network of other ancient sites, creating a complex web of prehistoric ritual landscapes. Nearby, the enigmatic Silbury Hill rises from the ground like an ancient sentinel, an earth mound that is thought to have been built around the same time as Avebury's stone circles. Though its exact purpose remains unclear, the mound's construction is an astounding feat of engineering, and its proximity to Avebury invites speculation. Was Silbury Hill a part of the same spiritual framework, functioning as a symbolic counterpart to the stone circle? Could these two structures, the standing stones and the massive mound, have been connected in ways that transcend simple function? Were they part of an elaborate celestial calendar, a larger framework that helped the people of the Neolithic understand their place in the cosmos? As we begin to probe the mysteries of Avebury, we encounter the darker, more speculative theories that surround the site. Some have suggested that Avebury, like other stone circles, might have had an even deeper, more esoteric purpose. The presence of large sarsen stones, particularly the heel stone standing at the entrance to the circle, has led some researchers to wonder if the site had connections to astronomical phenomena beyond what we can observe today. Could the alignment of the stones have been meant to signal the arrival of celestial bodies, planets, comets, or constellations that have since drifted from view due to the shifting of the stars? Could the builders have understood the movements of the stars on a level far beyond what we imagine, allowing them to create not only a functional tool for agricultural cycles, but a monument to the divine order of the universe? Others suggest that the construction of Avebury might be part of a more complex, sacred geography that spanned much of Britain and Europe, linking sites like Stonehenge, Callanish, and Ring of Brodgar through precise geometries. Could these locations have been aligned along specific ley lines, an invisible network of energy that some believe connects ancient sites across the world? The theory of ley lines, though controversial and widely debated, raises fascinating possibilities. Could Avebury have been one node in a much larger, perhaps even spiritual network that was designed to harness or connect with the unseen forces of the earth? As we stand at the heart of Avebury, looking out across the stone circles and the vast, open fields, the questions only deepen. What were the builders of this site truly trying to accomplish? Were they merely trying to chart the skies, or were they creating a structure that would stand the test of time, a structure that would one day continue to provoke the deepest of questions in those who came after them? What did they know that we have forgotten? The mysteries of Avebury remain, as they always have, locked in the stones and earth of this sacred place. Despite the centuries of investigation and research, the true purpose of Avebury, its spiritual significance, its precise astronomical alignments, and the depths of its ceremonial use, remains elusive. And perhaps that is as it should be. The power of places like Avebury lies not in their answers, but in the questions they provoke, the mysteries they continue to hold, and the knowledge they offer only to those willing to listen to the whispers of the past. As the wind blows through the stones and the evening sun dips below the horizon, we are reminded that some mysteries may never be fully unraveled. The stones, weathered by time, hold their secrets, perhaps to protect them, or perhaps to remind us that there are still wonders waiting to be discovered in the forgotten corners of the world. As we leave behind the windswept plains of Avebury, we now journey eastward to the arid landscapes of the UAE, where another ancient mystery waits to be uncovered. Hili Archaeological Park. Situated in the heart of the Al-Ayn oasis, one of the oldest continuously inhabited settlements in the Arabian Peninsula, Hili is a site that challenges our understanding of early human society and its ability to create structures of remarkable precision and purpose. The very nature of the site, with its intricate layout and enigmatic purpose, hints at a civilization far more complex than we might expect from the Bronze Age desert dwellers of the region. Hili Archaeological Park is home to some of the most significant prehistoric structures in the Arabian Peninsula. The most striking feature of this archaeological site is its series of tomb complexes, a labyrinth of stone and earth that extends deep into the history of human settlement in the region. The Hili tombs, as they are known, are spread across the site in an almost deliberate pattern, their precise alignment with the sun and stars suggesting that their builders may have had an intricate understanding of both the natural world and the cosmos. The site's most famous structure, Hili 8, is a large circular tomb made of stones that encircle a central chamber. It's a structure that beckons the imagination, with its high stone walls and dark, narrow entrance. Walking towards it, one feels a sense of foreboding, as though stepping into a space where time itself has been preserved, frozen within the walls and waiting for us to understand its secrets. The stones, weathered by centuries of desert winds, hold a silent testimony to the rituals performed within them. The tombs themselves were used for the burial of high-status individuals, but their full significance remains elusive. At first glance, the site might appear to be a mere cluster of tombs, similar to others found throughout the world. Yet as we delve deeper into the mysteries of Hili Archaeological Park, we begin to uncover a much richer story, one that involves not only death and burial, but also an extraordinary understanding of the natural world. The tombs are arranged in a way that suggests deliberate planning. Their alignment, not just with the horizon but with celestial bodies, invites us to ask, did the builders of Hili possess advanced knowledge of astronomy, geography, and even mathematics? What was the true purpose behind the precision of their layout? For archaeologists, One of the most fascinating aspects of Hili is its orientation. The tombs appear to be aligned with the movements of the sun, particularly during key moments such as the solstices. In this desert landscape, where the line between life and death is stark, the alignment may have been a symbolic gesture, an attempt to connect the human world with the divine or cosmic order. Was this a space where the living honored the dead in such a way that their spirits would be able to travel from this world to the next, guided by the light of the stars? Could the builders of Hili have used the tombs not only as burial sites, but also as markers of time, tracking the celestial cycles in much the same way that other ancient cultures used stone circles or pyramids to align themselves with the rhythms of the universe? In addition to the tombs, Hili Archaeological Park contains a series of fortified structures that seem to have served as both a defensive and communal space. These walls, constructed from the same stone as the tombs, create an almost fortified settlement, suggesting that the people who lived here were not merely concerned with burying their dead, but were also engaged in defending their territory and resources. The exact purpose of these structures remains uncertain, but it is clear that the community surrounding Hili had a highly organized social structure, one that required protection, resources, and cooperation. What role did these fortified areas play in the daily lives of the inhabitants? Were they used as centers of trade, governance, or perhaps religious observance? Adding another layer of intrigue is the Hili irrigation system, which enabled the settlement to thrive in the desert environment. Ancient qanats, or underground channels, transported water from the mountains to the agricultural fields, supporting the growth of crops in this otherwise arid land. The ability to manipulate the flow of water through this sophisticated system suggests that the builders of Hili were not only capable engineers, but also had an in-depth understanding of water management, an essential skill in the desert. Could this technology, combined with their astronomical knowledge, have been part of a larger, more complex system of environmental control? Were the people of Hili attempting to harmonize their environment with their spiritual beliefs, creating a place where the land, water, and sky worked in concert? Hili Archaeological Park. Despite these remarkable discoveries, Hili Archaeological Park still holds many unanswered questions. For one, the exact identity of the people who built the site remains a mystery. Evidence suggests that the inhabitants were part of the Ubaid culture, an early group of people who spread throughout the Arabian Peninsula and beyond, yet we know little about their social, political, and religious systems. The Ubaid people are famous for their distinct pottery and architectural style, but beyond this, much of their culture remains obscure. Were the people of Hili part of a larger, interconnected network of societies, exchanging goods, ideas, and beliefs across vast distances? Or were they an isolated group whose understanding of the cosmos and the natural world was unique to this particular region? Moreover, the role of the tombs within the society raises more questions than answers. The significance of the burials within the tombs, especially the high-status individuals interred there, is still unknown. Were these individuals leaders, priests, or warriors? Did the tombs serve a purely ceremonial function, or were they part of a larger system of governance and social hierarchy? The arrangement of the tombs, their placement in relation to one another, and the apparent use of astronomical alignments suggest that there may have been a sophisticated belief system behind their construction. Could the alignment of the tombs reflect the people's understanding of their place within a much larger cosmic framework, one that transcended their immediate environment? Even more tantalizing is the idea that the Hili tombs might have been connected to other ancient monuments in the Middle East. The Ubaid culture, though not as well known as other civilizations such as the Sumerians, is thought to have influenced early societies in the region, and the architectural and astronomical features of Hili may be part of a broader pattern of prehistoric structures that align with celestial events. Could there be a hidden network of sites, spanning from the Arabian Peninsula to Mesopotamia, all built with similar principles in mind? What if the people of Hili were part of an ancient tradition of monumental construction that stretched across vast distances, tied together by a shared understanding of the stars and the seasons? As we stand at the edge of the Hili Archaeological Park, surrounded by the stark beauty of the desert and the silence of the tombs, we are confronted with more questions than answers. What was the true purpose of these elaborate tombs and their celestial alignments? Were they markers of time, monuments to the dead, or perhaps symbols of a deeper cosmic order that the builders of Hili sought to understand and honor? What knowledge did they possess, and how did they use it to shape their world? The mysteries of Hili Archaeological Park remain locked in the stones, the tombs, and the earth beneath our feet. As we gaze out over the barren landscape, we are reminded that there is much we still do not know about the people who once called this place home. The tombs, the walls, the irrigation channels. All of these structures speak of a time when humanity's relationship to the land, the stars, and the heavens was much more profound than we can fully understand today. What we do know, however, is that the builders of Hili were not merely survivors of the desert. They were a people who left behind a legacy, one that continues to spark curiosity and wonder. And perhaps, in time, we will uncover the final pieces of the puzzle, revealing a deeper, more intricate understanding of this ancient civilization and its place in the long-forgotten history of the Arabian Peninsula. After exploring the dry expanse of Hili Archaeological Park, we now turn our attention to a vastly different landscape, one that stretches across the Senegambian region of West Africa. This area, rich with history, is home to the stone circles of Senegambia, a collection of more than 1,000 stone structures scattered across the flat savannas of Senegal and the Gambia. These monuments, some standing tall, others barely recognizable, offer a glimpse into a prehistoric society that flourished more than a millennium ago, yet whose creators remain elusive in the historical record. As we venture into this region, the stones seem to whisper of an ancient culture, one whose mysteries are waiting to be uncovered. The Senegambian stone circles are located in a sprawling landscape of grasslands, rolling hills, and dense thickets, where the dry season reveals the full extent of the site's many wonders. The most prominent clusters of stones can be found near the towns of Al-Ayn and Wanar, where vast circles of granite boulders rise from the earth in deliberate formations. These stone structures, some as large as 10 meters in diameter, form clusters that seem to stretch across the horizon, scattered across the landscape like remnants of an ancient map. The stones themselves vary in size and shape. Some are tall and narrow, standing like sentinels keeping watch over the land, while others are smaller and more irregular, half buried in the earth, worn down by time and weather. The largest circles, known as the Wasu stone circle, are arranged in almost perfect formations, with stones meticulously placed in concentric rings that seem to have been carefully planned. They're not random clusters of stone. Rather, they exhibit an order, a pattern, that suggests a level of sophisticated design, an almost mathematical precision in their construction. The sheer scale of these stone circles is mind-boggling. Covering an area of more than 12,000 square kilometers, the site contains over 1,000 individual stone circles, along with many burial mounds and other megalithic structures. The stones themselves are arranged in patterns that are not immediately apparent, suggesting that the placement of each stone had a purpose, potentially linked to celestial or seasonal cycles. The site is much more than a collection of stones. It is a spatial map of the environment, an ancient record of time and space, a testament to a people whose knowledge of geometry, astronomy, and engineering was far beyond what might be expected of their time. Though many of the stones have been worn down by centuries of wind and rain, they still stand, silent and steadfast. The larger stones, which may have weighed several tons, were carefully transported to their positions, possibly over great distances, using methods we are only beginning to understand. The question remains: how did the builders of these stone circles, presumed to be the ancestors of the Serer people, move such massive stones without the aid of modern technology? Was this a monumental task accomplished by thousands of laborers, or was there a more ingenious method at play, one that involved an intricate understanding of mechanical principles, simple tools, or even unknown technologies? Some researchers have speculated that the Senegambian stone circles might have been built as part of a complex, ritualistic, or religious landscape. The sheer effort required to construct such massive structures, combined with their alignment to the sun, moon, and stars, hints at a deep connection between the site's builders and the celestial world. Were these stone circles astronomical observatories, carefully positioned to mark the rising and setting of the sun during the equinoxes and solstices? Or did they serve a more spiritual or ceremonial purpose, marking the spaces where human life intersected with the divine? Could these stone circles have been places for ancestor worship, where the people believed the spirits of their forebears were still present, their energy bound to the stones? As we delve deeper into the history of the Senegambian stone circles, the mystery deepens. The date of their construction remains debated. While estimates place their origin at around 3,000 to 2,000 years ago, some scholars argue they could be even older. The construction of such a monumental site, encompassing hundreds of stones arranged with deliberate intent, would have required an advanced level of planning, communal effort, and a profound understanding of both nature and geometry. How did the people of ancient Senegambia come by such knowledge? Did they share a common cultural connection with other megalithic builders of the time, such as those of Europe or the Middle East? Or did they independently develop their own system of measurement, possibly rooted in the stars and the seasons, to guide the placement of each stone? Despite ongoing archaeological efforts, there is still much we don't know about the people who built the stone circles. Some believe the site could have been a major center for trade, a focal point where people from various regions gathered, shared knowledge, and practiced rituals. However, no written records have been found to confirm this, and the lack of more concrete evidence only adds to the intrigue. Did the creators of these stone circles leave behind clues to their civilization's broader network? Or are we left to wonder if their history has been lost to time? Interestingly, the Senegambian stone circles share striking similarities with other ancient megalithic sites across the globe. The placement of the stones, particularly in relation to the heavens, suggests that these builders were not isolated in their understanding of the cosmos. Some theories propose that the Senegambian builders might have had contact with distant cultures, exchanging ideas about geometry and astronomy. Could the people of Senegambia have been part of a larger network of prehistoric civilizations that spanned across Africa, Europe, and even the Middle East? Were these shared astronomical alignments part of a universal language of the ancient world, one that transcended geographical boundaries? Moreover, the question remains: what exactly was the purpose of these stone circles? While it is generally accepted that they had religious or ceremonial significance, there are competing theories about their role. Some suggest they were calendar systems, used to track agricultural cycles or predict the seasons, while others believe they were places of spiritual connection, places where the living could communicate with their ancestors or the divine. Could the Senegambians have been mapping out time itself, constructing a monument that mirrored the universe's vast and cyclical rhythms? One particularly fascinating theory connects the stone circles to the rise of social hierarchy in ancient Africa. Did the placement of these stones represent a form of social organization, perhaps marking the transition from egalitarian societies to more stratified ones? If these stone circles were built to align with celestial events, perhaps they were also used as tools for political control, determining the timing of rituals and harvests to reinforce the authority of leaders or priests. Could the alignment of the stones have been a way to mark time for a larger collective, guiding the rhythms of agriculture, governance, and religion? As we stand on the flat savanna of Senegambia, surrounded by the silent stones, the mysteries of this site continue to linger. Though much has been uncovered about the Senegambian stone circles, there are still many unanswered questions. The alignment of the stones with the heavens, the sheer effort required to transport and position them, and the lack of definitive records all suggest that we have only scratched the surface of this ancient mystery. Perhaps the greatest mystery of all lies in the people themselves, their understanding of the universe, their motivations for building these structures, and the legacy they left behind. Were they simply trying to chart the cosmos? Or was there something more profound at play, something beyond our comprehension? As we look out over the stone circles of Senegambia, it becomes clear that there is still much to learn, and much more to wonder. As we leave behind the ancient stone circles of Senegambia, we journey westward, across the windswept hills of Spain, to a remote corner of the Andalusian countryside, where a fascinating enigma quietly rests: the Dolmen of Soto. Nestled in the rolling hills near the town of Alcalá del Rio, this megalithic structure stands as a testament to an era long past, its purpose and construction still shrouded in mystery. The Dolmen of Soto, with its towering stones and precise arrangement, challenges us to rethink what we know about the Neolithic peoples who once inhabited this region. The dolmen, a type of prehistoric burial mound, is part of a wider group of megalithic structures scattered throughout southern Spain. But Soto stands apart. As you approach the site, the first thing you notice is the entrance, a narrow passageway framed by two massive stone blocks, each weighing several tons. Beyond this portal, the passage opens into the heart of the tomb, revealing a chamber constructed with even larger stones. The roof stone, a single immense slab, lies across the top, perfectly balanced above the doorway. There is an almost eerie precision to the construction, as though the stones were placed with deliberate care, as if the builders had a profound understanding of not only the materials they were using, but also of the forces that governed the world around them. The Dolmen of Soto is a burial tomb, but it is not just any burial site. Its size and alignment suggest that it may have been built for someone of great importance. Unlike smaller tombs, which were often simple, single-chamber structures, the Dolmen of Soto is a complex arrangement, an entrance passage leading into a main chamber with a long, rectangular shape. The entrance faces east, aligned with the rising sun, which hints at the possibility that the tomb was constructed not just to house the dead, but to connect them with the heavens. Was the placement of the tomb related to the sun's path? Did the builders view the rising sun as a symbol of rebirth, linking the deceased to the eternal cycle of life and death? The structure itself is a classic example of a megalithic tomb, a burial chamber made of large stones, typically built during the Neolithic period. The Dolmen of Soto's monumental size, however, places it among the most significant examples of its kind. The stones, roughly hewn but carefully placed, suggest a society capable of tremendous engineering feats. How did these people, without the wheel, without cranes, and without the sophisticated tools we take for granted today, move and position stones weighing several tons? The precision required to align such a structure so perfectly, not only with the earth beneath but with the cycles of the sun, suggests that the builders of the Dolmen of Soto may have had access to knowledge that was far more advanced than what we typically associate with the Neolithic. One of the most striking features of the dolmen is the way the stones are arranged to form a symbolic space, a passage leading from the world of the living to the world of the dead. The stones, though weathered by time, seem to form a kind of pathway, a journey through which the deceased would have been guided into the afterlife. Was the alignment of the dolmen's entrance intentional, to coincide with certain celestial events like the solstices or equinoxes? Was this an attempt to harness the power of the sun, a symbol of life and rebirth? The positioning of such monuments across the landscape suggests that these structures may have been more than just places of burial. They could have been ritual spaces, places where the community gathered to mark important seasonal changes or celestial events. The burial practices at the Dolmen of Soto are equally intriguing. While the details are not fully understood, it is believed that the tomb was used for the burial of high-status individuals, possibly chiefs or spiritual leaders. The scale of the tomb, along with its careful construction and positioning, suggests that the people who built it had a deep reverence for the dead. The dolmen itself may have been built as a kind of memorial, a way for the living to honor their ancestors and to create a connection with the spirits of the past. But the mystery lies in the absence of significant human remains. Archaeologists have found only small fragments of bones, suggesting that the tomb may have been ritually closed, or that the remains were removed over time for other purposes. Was the tomb built to house the bones of a single individual, or was it part of a larger ceremonial complex that had different purposes over the course of centuries? The construction of such an imposing tomb would have required advanced knowledge of geometry and engineering. How did the builders manage to position the stones with such precision? Could they have used a system of measurement based on the human body, as some other ancient cultures did? Or did they have access to more sophisticated mathematical techniques? The large slabs used in the construction of the dolmen may have been quarried from nearby hills, but the question remains, how did they move these heavy blocks over long distances? Was it the result of manual labor? Or did the builders employ more ingenious methods, such as a system of pulleys or levers? Despite its monumental nature, the purpose of the Dolmen of Soto remains elusive. Some have proposed that it was built as a solar observatory, with its alignment to the sunrise marking significant celestial events. Others suggest that it may have been a ritual center, a place for the community to gather during important times of the year. There are even theories that propose the dolmen may have been a sacred site for ancestor worship, where the spirits of the dead were believed to influence the living. The tomb's design, with its dark chamber and its passageway leading toward the light, could be a representation of the journey from life to death, from darkness to light. Was it, perhaps, a metaphorical gateway that marked the transition between the realms of the living and the dead? Even more intriguing are the larger questions this site raises. The Dolmen of Soto is not an isolated structure. It is part of a broader pattern of megalithic tombs found throughout the Iberian Peninsula. What was the broader cultural context in which these tombs were built? Did the people who constructed the dolmen have a sophisticated understanding of the world around them, including the movement of the stars and the passage of time? Was there a shared knowledge across prehistoric Europe, one that tied these monuments together in ways we are only beginning to understand? Theories abound, ranging from the suggestion that these tombs were part of an ancient network of astronomical observatories to the more speculative idea that the dolmen were designed to harness the power of the Earth's magnetic fields. Could the builders have had access to a lost form of knowledge, one that allowed them to understand the Earth, the stars, and the forces of nature in ways that we have yet to fully appreciate? The Dolmen of Soto remains one of many unsolved mysteries of prehistoric Europe. As we stand before this silent monument, it is impossible not to wonder, what was its true purpose? Was it merely a burial tomb, or did it serve a much grander role in the spiritual life of its creators? Could there have been knowledge encoded within the structure that we have yet to unlock? As the sun sets over the Andalusian hills, casting long shadows across the stones, we are reminded that the secrets of the past are often hidden in plain sight, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be understood. As we move from the grand stone circles of Senegambia, our journey now takes us to the rugged coast of Brittany in northwestern France, where an ancient mystery stands half buried in the earth, the Grand Menhir base of Locmariaquer. This site, located in the village of Locmariaquer, is part of a wider megalithic landscape known as the Brittany Megaliths, a collection of structures that stretches across the region, drawing curious minds from around the world. While the site itself might not be as widely known as Stonehenge or the pyramids of Egypt, the Grand Menhir base holds its own peculiar fascination. It is the remains of an ancient megalithic monument whose original purpose, construction, and significance remain steeped in mystery. When you stand before the Grand Menhir base, what strikes you first is the sheer scale of the stones, which lie scattered across a vast open field near the coast. These massive blocks, weighing as much as 330 tons, are remnants of a once mighty structure that towered over the landscape, perhaps serving as a symbolic axis connecting the earth to the heavens. The base is all that remains of a towering stone, believed to have been around 20 meters tall, that once stood proudly as a focal point of some forgotten civilization. Now, however, the monument is incomplete, its grand stature diminished by time, erosion, and the ravages of history. It's easy to be captivated by the scale and mystery of the site. The stones themselves are roughly hewn, with few signs of refinement, suggesting that the men and women who erected them were more concerned with their size and placement than with making them appear symmetrical or polished. Yet, despite their unrefined appearance, the size and positioning of these stones speak of a people who understood something beyond mere craftsmanship, a people who may have understood the very forces of nature and the cosmos. What, then, was the purpose of these stones? The Grand Menhir base is part of a larger megalithic complex at Locmariaquer, which includes a number of other stones, such as the Petit Menhir and the Table des Marchands, a large burial mound that sits near the base of the Menhir. It's clear that the site was more than just a collection of stones randomly placed by ancient peoples. The alignment of the Grand Menhir was almost certainly deliberate, possibly marking an important astronomical event. The position of the base, along with other nearby stones, suggests a close connection to the solstices or the lunar calendar, a connection that the builders may have used to track the movement of the sun, moon, and stars. Could this be the case? Were these menhirs designed to serve as celestial observatories, marking important moments of the year such as the solstices when the Earth's tilt aligned with the sun? Moreover, the sheer size of the stone and the effort that must have gone into its construction raise another intriguing possibility. What drove these ancient people to invest so much labor into such a monumental project? It is well established that megalithic societies were often deeply connected to the spiritual world, with stone monuments used as symbols of power, immortality, or a connection to the divine. But what if the true purpose of the Grand Menhir was something even more profound? Could it have been a gateway to the other world, a marker that guided the spirits of the dead on their journey to the afterlife? Or was it perhaps a ritual center, a place of assembly for an ancient, organized society that came together not just to worship, but to plan, govern, or conduct ceremonial rites? There is one particularly fascinating theory that ties the Grand Menhir base to the lunar cycle. Some researchers speculate that the menhir might have been part of a lunar calendar system, marking specific times of the year when the moon would appear in particular positions in the sky. This would have been of great importance to agricultural societies that relied heavily on the lunar cycle to plan their planting and harvesting seasons. Could the menhir have been a tool to mark the passage of time, a kind of prehistoric clock that aligned with the heavens? Given the astronomical alignments of other megalithic sites, such as those found at Stonehenge, it's certainly plausible that the builders of the Grand Menhir base had a sophisticated understanding of the cosmos. At its peak, the Grand Menhir would have been an awe-inspiring sight. Standing 20 meters high, it would have dominated the surrounding landscape, visible from miles around. The sheer act of erecting such a stone with the technology available to its creators is impressive enough. But what makes this site even more intriguing is the fact that the original menhir was destroyed, broken into several pieces. Why would this massive stone monument be destroyed? Did the people who built it abandon their site, or was the menhir purposely toppled? Some theorists suggest that it could have been part of a ritual act, perhaps a symbolic act of destruction tied to the changing seasons or a period of social upheaval. Others propose that the destruction of the menhir could have signified the fall of a once powerful society or a shift in the beliefs and practices of the people who built it. Even the location of the Grand Menhir raises more questions than answers. Situated near the sea, it could have served as a beacon, a marker for travelers or seafarers navigating the coastline. Could the monument have been designed not only to mark the changing of the seasons, but also to guide ships on their journey? The site's proximity to the Atlantic Ocean suggests that maritime trade or exploration could have played a role in the lives of the builders, adding yet another layer of complexity to the mystery of the menhir's construction and purpose. The Grand Menhir base is not an isolated site. It is part of a complex network of megalithic structures scattered across the Brittany region, including other famous sites like Karnak. However, the singularity of Locmariaquer's Grand Stone sets it apart. Some archaeologists argue that the menhir was part of a larger system of sacred spaces, each with a unique purpose and function. Was the Grand Menhir the central marker of a larger ritual landscape, used in ceremonies tied to death, rebirth, and celestial worship? Or was it more of a territorial marker, a symbol of power and control for the people who once lived here? The relationship between the various megalithic sites in this region suggests a well-organized society with deep spiritual and astronomical knowledge. As we stand in the shadow of what remains of the Grand Menhir base, it's impossible not to feel the weight of the past. The questions this site raises are numerous and profound. What was the true purpose of the menhir? Was it an astronomical observatory, a symbol of spiritual power, or a connection to the supernatural world? Why was it destroyed? And what does its ruin reveal about the changing tides of ancient society? Was it the end of one era, or the beginning of another? The Grand Menhir base of Locmariaquer is a testament to the complexity of ancient societies, a society whose understanding of the cosmos, time, and space may have been far more sophisticated than we can fully comprehend. As we contemplate the remains of this monumental structure, the mystery remains unsolved. The questions it raises are far from simple, and with each passing year, new possibilities arise. What secrets lie hidden beneath the stones of Locmariaquer, waiting to be discovered? Only time and perhaps further archaeological investigation will tell. After exploring the Grand Menhirs of Brittany, our journey continues, taking us to the windswept coastal plains of Peru, where the mysteries of the Chankillo Solar Observatory quietly await discovery. Located in the Peruvian coastal desert, in the Ancash region, this ancient site stands as one of the most remarkable and enigmatic examples of prehistoric astronomical understanding in the world. A site that predates even the Inca Empire, Chankillo reveals an advanced knowledge of the heavens, a knowledge that seems to transcend the simple needs of everyday life and points instead to something much deeper, more profound. A desire to align human activity with the celestial cycles in ways that we can only begin to appreciate today. As you approach Chankillo, the first thing you notice is the 13 towers, a line of towering stone structures that stretch across the hills in a precise alignment, their presence cutting through the desert like ancient sentinels guarding a long-forgotten secret. These towers are unlike anything else in the ancient world. Each of the 13 stones stands tall and imposing, arranged in a line that stretches across the northern horizon, their heights gradually decreasing from east to west. The towers seem to have been carefully constructed, and their arrangement was no accident. This alignment was not only intentional, it was deeply connected to the movement of the sun and the cycles of the solstices. At the heart of the site lies the observatory itself, a high platform from which the ancient astronomers could have observed the changing position of the sun, the movements of the stars, and the shifting of the seasons. The natural landscape surrounding the site, with its dry, open expanse, was likely seen as a vast, unbroken canvas for celestial observations, an ideal place to witness the cosmic dance of the heavens. But there is more to the Chankillo site than meets the eye. This is not just an astronomical observatory. It is an instrument of time itself, a tool constructed not only to track the sun's movements, but to mark the passage of time in the lives of the people who built it. The 13 towers at Chankillo have long been known to align perfectly with the movement of the sun, but recent archaeological studies have revealed something far more interesting. The towers are arranged in a way that marks the path of the sun's annual movement, specifically its apparent movement along the horizon throughout the year. As the sun rises and sets, its position in the sky shifts gradually from day to day, and the towers seem to have been built precisely to track this shift. The towers create a visual calendar, with certain towers being obscured or revealed as the sun rises or sets. This alignment forms a kind of solar calendar, allowing the inhabitants of Chankillo to mark not only the solstices, but also the key moments of the year, such as the equinoxes and other important agricultural or ceremonial dates. The sheer complexity of the design raises many questions. Why did the people of Chankillo go to such lengths to construct such a precise and intricate solar observatory? The alignment of the towers is so deliberate and refined that it suggests an advanced understanding of the sun's cycles, perhaps far beyond what one might expect from a pre-Inca civilization. It is clear that the builders of Chankillo were not only observing the sky, they were actively tracking the sun's journey across the heavens, mapping its course and aligning their society's activities to its movements. But the question remains, how did they achieve such precision? The towers themselves, though simple in construction, have been painstakingly arranged to form an intricate solar calendar, a kind of solar clock embedded into the landscape. The people who built the observatory must have had a deep understanding of the cosmos, an understanding that extended beyond mere observation. Did they employ some form of early mathematics or geometry? Were there knowledge systems in place that allowed them to measure and predict the sun's movement with such accuracy? While we know that the Inca had a sophisticated calendar system, could the people of Chankillo have been working with a similar or even more advanced system long before the rise of the Inca Empire? The site's timing and alignment are too precise to be accidental. The sunset and sunrise seen from the site would have been closely observed, allowing the people of Chankillo to track the sun's arc across the sky. The significance of the 13 towers becomes even clearer when one considers the symbolic meaning of the number 13 in many ancient cultures, often associated with the lunar cycles or the changing phases of the moon. Were the towers, then, not just tools for tracking the sun, but also markers for deeper rituals, possibly connected to the cycles of life and death, the seasons, or the agricultural cycles that govern the livelihoods of the people? This leads to another intriguing question. What role did the Chankillo Solar Observatory play in the daily lives of its creators? Was it a purely practical tool used by farmers to track the agricultural year, or did it have a more spiritual or ceremonial significance? The people of Chankillo may have used the site for both purposes, marking important dates for planting and harvesting, but also performing rituals to honor the gods of the sky, the earth, and the harvest. Could the alignment of the towers have been connected to religious beliefs, perhaps a desire to align human life with the divine rhythms of the universe? Was Chankillo, in some way, a sacred site, designed not just to track time, but to connect the people to the cosmos in ways that we are only beginning to comprehend? Interestingly, the site's location, nestled within the desert, is also significant. It suggests that the builders were highly attuned to the natural world around them. The stark, clear skies of the coastal desert would have provided an unobstructed view of the heavens, making it an ideal place for celestial observation. But there is a deeper mystery here. Could the dry, open landscape have been chosen for its symbolic resonance? Was the desert seen as a place where the human and divine realms intersected? The expansive, flat plains could have represented a kind of sacred space, where people felt a profound connection to the celestial forces above. The Chankillo Solar Observatory raises more questions than it answers. Was it a purely practical tool, or did it have a deeper spiritual meaning? Did the 13 towers represent more than just markers of time? Could they have been symbolic of something else, like the relationship between heaven and earth, or the cycle of life? And what other mysterious features might still lie hidden beneath the surface of the desert, waiting to be uncovered? As we stand before the 13 towers, it is difficult not to be struck by the profound mystery of the site. The precision of its construction, the alignment with the sun's path, and the symbolic use of the landscape suggest a level of astronomical knowledge far beyond what we might expect from a civilization living thousands of years ago. Chankillo is a reminder that the ancient world was far more complex and sophisticated than we often give it credit for, and that there are still many mysteries waiting to be discovered in the vast stretches of time that separate us from the builders of these ancient monuments. What other secrets might the desert still hold? And what exactly were the people of Chankillo trying to tell us through their monumental observatory? The answers perhaps remain hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. As we leave behind the arid expanses of Peru's Chankillo, our journey now takes us to the high plains of the Bighorn Mountains in Wyoming, USA, where a quieter yet equally captivating mystery lies hidden among the rocks and grasses. Here, at an elevation of over 9,600 feet, the Bighorn medicine wheel stands as a testament to a people whose understanding of the cosmos was intricately tied to the natural world. This ancient structure, often overshadowed by more famous monuments, is no less enigmatic in its own right. It speaks of a culture whose bond with the heavens was as much a part of their identity as the very land beneath their feet. At first glance, the Bighorn medicine wheel seems almost like a simple arrangement of stones. But as we look closer, a deeper, more complex story begins to unfold. The wheel itself consists of a large, circular arrangement of stones, around 30 feet in diameter, with 28 spokes radiating outward from a central cairn. The stones are arranged with remarkable precision, their layout aligning with the cardinal directions and other natural features of the surrounding landscape. This seemingly humble structure, made of stones gathered from the area, forms a geometric whole, and its significance reaches far beyond its appearance. What is it about this stone circle that has intrigued archaeologists and researchers for so long? One of the most striking features of the Bighorn medicine wheel is its alignment with the sun. During the summer solstice, the sun rises perfectly in line with one of the wheel's spokes, casting a shadow across the stones. The winter solstice, too, brings the sun into alignment with another part of the wheel, creating a cosmic relationship between the earth and sky. The structure's position at such a high altitude further suggests a deliberate intention, perhaps to gain the clearest possible view of the sky, undisturbed by the natural obstructions found at lower elevations. Yet, the question remains: why was such a structure built here, high in the mountains, far from any significant settlements or centers of population? What was it about this site that drew the builders to such a remote location, one that would have been difficult to reach and harder still to maintain? Was this location sacred in some way, tied to celestial phenomena that could only be observed in such an isolated place? The alignment with the solstices suggests that the wheel had an astronomical purpose, perhaps used as a solar observatory to track the changing seasons. This would have been of great importance to the native peoples who lived in the area, particularly those whose agricultural practices were deeply intertwined with the natural rhythms of the sun. The medicine wheel might have been a calendar, marking the times of planting, harvesting, and other seasonal events. The precise arrangement of the stones hints at an advanced understanding of mathematical principles, particularly those relating to geometry and the cycles of the sun. But the medicine wheel's significance likely extends beyond its role as a tool for agriculture. It's likely that it was also a ritual center, a place for the people to gather for ceremonies that connected them to the spiritual forces of the universe. The very name medicine wheel evokes ideas of healing and spiritual power. In many indigenous cultures, the wheel is a symbol of wholeness, a reflection of the interconnectedness of all things in the cosmos. Could it be that the Bighorn medicine wheel was a place of ceremonial significance, where the people marked not only the solstices, but also other important milestones in the cycle of life, death, and rebirth? The spokes of the wheel may also have had symbolic meaning. With 28 spokes in total, some believe this number is tied to the lunar cycle, a timekeeping system that was central to many indigenous cultures. 28 days is the approximate length of the lunar month, and its repetition in the wheel's design suggests that the builders may have been using the wheel not just to track the sun, but to observe the phases of the moon as well. The moon's phases have always been closely tied to both agriculture and rituals, and the inclusion of this cycle in the medicine wheel may point to a deeper holistic approach to understanding the passage of time. But the mysteries surrounding the Bighorn medicine wheel don't stop there. Beyond the purely astronomical or agricultural theories, there are more speculative ideas, more mystical theories, if you will. Some believe that the medicine wheel was a sacred space, a spiritual center, where the boundary between the physical world and the spiritual world was particularly thin. The high altitude of the site, coupled with the wheel's symbolic geometry, suggests that it could have been seen as a connection point between the earth and the heavens. Was the medicine wheel, in some way, a site where the spirits of the land could be communicated with? Could the wheel have been used in shamanistic rituals, designed to bring the people closer to the divine forces of nature? There are even some fringe theories that suggest the Bighorn medicine wheel may have served as a kind of sacred portal, with the stones marking a ritual doorway through which the spirits of the deceased could pass on their journey to the afterlife. The physical form of the wheel, with its circular shape and spokes, is itself an ancient symbol of continuity, a never-ending cycle that could be interpreted as representing the endless journey of the soul. Despite all the theories, one thing is clear. The Bighorn medicine wheel was not a site constructed by mere chance. Its precise design, its alignment with the sun and possibly the moon, and its location atop the Bighorn Mountains suggest that this was a place of great significance. But the true depth of that significance remains elusive. While modern research has uncovered much about its astronomical function, much of its ritual purpose remains hidden in the folds of time. Why was this isolated location chosen, and what deeper meanings lie embedded in its circular form? And then, there is the silence of the wheel itself. The ancient stones, weathered by centuries of wind and rain, hold their secrets close. The native peoples who constructed this site have passed down stories through generations, but much of the oral history has been lost or obscured by time. What knowledge was contained in those stories? What did they know about the sun, the moon, the stars, and the forces of the earth that we still don't fully understand today? The Bighorn medicine wheel, like so many ancient sites, challenges us to reconsider our understanding of the past. It speaks to a time when the people of the land had an intimate relationship with the heavens, a connection that we might only be beginning to grasp. As we stand at the edge of the wheel, looking out over the vast landscape of the Bighorn Mountains, we are reminded that the mysteries of the ancient world, those built with mathematical precision and astronomical insight, are still with us, waiting to be fully understood. What other knowledge lies hidden within these ancient stones, waiting for us to discover it? What truths remain to be unearthed, both about the medicine wheel and the people who built it? Only time will reveal the answers, but for now, the questions linger. As we move away from the ancient stone circles of the Bighorn medicine wheel, we journey eastward to a lesser-known, yet equally captivating site, Arslantepe Mounds in modern-day Turkey. Nestled in the eastern Anatolian plains, this ancient mound holds secrets that date back over 8,000 years, far earlier than the rise of the civilizations we are accustomed to studying. Arslantepe is a place where the past lingers, woven into the earth itself, waiting for those willing to peel back its layers of time. The mounds of Arslantepe rise quietly from the rolling plains, scattered across the landscape like forgotten remnants of a distant civilization. But there is nothing forgettable about the site's significance. Here, buried beneath the Earth's surface, lie the remains of what may have been one of the earliest urban centers in human history. Excavations at the site, ongoing since the 1960s, have uncovered the foundations of monumental structures that suggest a highly organized society, one that mastered not only the art of construction, but also the mathematics required to create buildings that were both functional and symbolic. Arslantepe is a complex site, encompassing layers of history that span thousands of years. The mounds themselves are not just the product of a single era, but a palimpsest of human activity, where the evidence of ancient civilizations is layered one upon another like an archaeological onion. The oldest layers, dating back to around 3,500 BCE, reveal a city-state of remarkable sophistication. Here, we find the remnants of rectangular and circular buildings that were likely used for both residential and ritual purposes. But it is the large, multi-roomed structures and their astounding level of planning that truly set Arslantepe apart. The layout of these buildings reveals an extraordinary level of urban planning, a precision that suggests a deep understanding of geometry and spatial organization. Some of these structures appear to have been carefully aligned with the cardinal directions, indicating that the inhabitants may have used advanced astronomical knowledge in their urban design. Was this deliberate? Or did the builders of Arslantepe simply happen to align their structures with natural forces? What could have driven them to apply such precise measurements to their city's construction? Among the most fascinating discoveries are the large ceremonial halls, some of which contain reliefs depicting scenes of ritual sacrifices and processions. These scenes suggest that the site was not just a center of commerce and residence, but also a religious hub, a place where people gathered to worship gods and perform ceremonies designed to honor the unseen forces of the world. In one of these halls, archaeologists uncovered a ritual platform, a raised area made of stone and mud brick, which may have served as a stage for elaborate ceremonies. Could this platform have been aligned with the stars or the sun in a way similar to other ancient structures we've encountered? Was it a place where time and space, the cosmic and the earthly, converged? Interestingly, some of the more speculative theories about Arslantepe suggest that the monumental nature of the site might have had even deeper significance. For instance, some researchers have speculated that the complex layout of the buildings and the use of astronomical alignments could point to a society that was attempting to quantify time and connect their daily lives with the cycles of the natural world. Perhaps these early architects understood the relationship between celestial movements and the rhythms of life on Earth. Did they use the stars, the sun, and the moon to govern their rituals, or to mark key moments in the agricultural calendar? One of the most intriguing elements of the site is the fame of its Sphinx sculptures, which stand at the entrance to some of the monumental structures. These sculptures, with their imposing forms, seem to represent some kind of guardians or protectors of the sacred space within. Their mysterious expressions and deliberate placement suggest that the people of Arslantepe had not only mastered the art of architecture, but had also developed a strong symbolic vocabulary. What role did these figures play in the spiritual and practical lives of the city's inhabitants? Were they simply decorative, or did they serve as markers, aligning the people's sense of the physical world with the divine? But perhaps the most mysterious aspect of Arslantepe is its abandonment. By around 2300 BCE, the site was mysteriously deserted. The reasons for this remain unclear, though some have speculated that warfare, famine, or perhaps shifts in the climate could have driven the inhabitants away. Or did the people of Arslantepe move on to other regions, carrying with them the knowledge and mathematical precision that had once shaped their city? There is no evidence that the site was ever destroyed by a catastrophic event, leaving the mystery of why it was abandoned to this day. Some have suggested that the knowledge contained within Arslantepe may have been deliberately hidden or lost. Could the builders of Arslantepe have known something we don't? Did they construct their monuments with the intention of preserving certain knowledge, perhaps about time, astronomy, or the cosmos, that they believed was too sacred or too dangerous for future generations? Was there a deeper philosophical or spiritual agenda that underpinned their architectural feats, an agenda now obscured by time? There are also more speculative theories that place Arslantepe in a larger, more global context. Some researchers have drawn parallels between Arslantepe and other early urban centers, like those in Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. Could this early urban center have been connected to other advanced societies of the ancient world through trade, migration, or shared cultural practices? Was Arslantepe part of a much larger network of cities that spanned great distances, exchanging knowledge, technology, and ideas? As we stand amidst the mounds of Arslantepe, with the wind gently whispering through the ruins, we are reminded of the mysteries that still elude us. The precision of the structures, the use of astronomical alignments, the seemingly intentional abandonment of the site, all suggest a civilization that understood far more about the world around them than we might expect. But why? What was their ultimate purpose? Was it a desire to control time, space, or the very cycles of nature? Or was it something more? Something that still remains hidden beneath the layers of earth and stone? The mounds at Arslantepe rise against the backdrop of time, standing as silent witnesses to a people whose knowledge was advanced, yet whose story has largely been lost to history. The search for answers continues, and with each new discovery the question remains: what else might still be buried here, waiting to be uncovered? As we leave behind the mists of Arslantepe, our exploration now takes us deep into the rugged landscapes of southern Albania, where a quieter yet equally enigmatic site beckons the curious. Nestled amidst the mountainous terrain near the village of Selca lies a settlement of stone that has captured the imagination of archaeologists and historians alike. Selca Stone Settlement, an ancient site that traces its origins to the Bronze Age, is not only notable for its location but also for the extraordinary precision with which its structures were built. At first glance, the settlement seems to be little more than a series of stone ruins, half buried by the passage of time and the unforgiving nature of the land. Yet, it is precisely these stones, scattered across the hillside, that whisper of a much larger story, one that speaks to the deep knowledge and technical skill of the people who lived here thousands of years ago. The settlement sits at an altitude of over 1,000 meters, overlooking the winding rivers and verdant valleys below. From this elevated vantage point, one might wonder if the people of Selca chose this site for its commanding view of the surrounding landscape, or was there something more deliberate in their choice? Was this location chosen because it aligned with celestial events, or because it possessed some hidden, inherent quality that we still don't understand? The buildings at Selca are constructed from large, rough-hewn stones, meticulously arranged in patterns that hint at a sophisticated understanding of architecture. Unlike other ancient settlements where the structures were simply piled together in a haphazard fashion, the stones here are laid with a remarkable degree of geometric precision. The walls of the buildings curve and align in ways that suggest a purposeful, deliberate design. Could it be that the builders of Selca understood the principles of geometry in ways we have yet to fully comprehend? The walls are not just functional. They appear to have been crafted with an awareness of the land's natural contours, creating a harmony between the built environment and the landscape itself. Among the most remarkable features of the settlement is its stone circles. These circular formations, spread across the site, seem to serve as more than just decorative features. Some researchers have posited that these circles may have had an astronomical purpose, marking specific points on the horizon where the sun rose or set at certain times of the year. The positioning of these stones may have been intended to mark key moments in the agricultural calendar, perhaps the solstices or equinoxes. This idea is not without precedent. Similar stone circles in other parts of the world, such as Stonehenge or the Nabta Playa in Egypt, have been shown to align with celestial events. Could the people of Selca have also been aware of these cycles, integrating their architectural design with the movements of the heavens? Yet, despite these seemingly clear astronomical connections, there are no definitive answers. The purpose of the stone circles at Selca remains elusive. Did they function as simple landmarkers, or did they play a more complex role in the spiritual and ritualistic practices of the people? Were they used in ceremonies that honored the sun and the earth, or perhaps as ritual sites for connecting with unseen forces? The lack of written records leaves us grasping at shadows, unable to fully decipher the meaning behind these structures. The settlement itself also hints at a sophisticated social organization. The layout of the site suggests that it was more than just a collection of individual houses. There appears to be a level of planned order, with distinct areas that may have served different purposes: residential, ceremonial, and possibly even communal spaces. Could the Selca people have been governed by a system that required the precise organization of space? Was there a hierarchy at play, with certain families or individuals occupying specific areas based on social status or role in the community? Interestingly, Selca is not an isolated settlement. Archaeological surveys have revealed traces of other similarly structured settlements in the surrounding area. This raises the possibility that the people who inhabited this region may have been part of a larger, interconnected society. Was Selca part of a network of settlements, each contributing to a larger regional economy? Or did the people of Selca possess knowledge that was so advanced it spread beyond their own community? The interrelationship between these settlements is something that remains speculative, but it speaks to a broader question: how far did the influence of the people of Selca reach? One of the most intriguing aspects of the Selca settlement is the mystery of its abandonment. Unlike other prehistoric settlements, there is no obvious sign of a catastrophic event. No evidence of war, fire, or natural disaster that might have caused the people to leave. The settlement simply seems to have been abandoned. But why? Was there a shift in the climate, a resource depletion, or some other factor that led to their departure? Or was this simply a part of the natural ebb and flow of ancient societies, where settlements were abandoned over time as people moved on to new lands or opportunities? Or perhaps there is another, less understood reason that led to the site's decline, a reason that still eludes us, hidden beneath the layers of earth and stone. Some theories speculate that the alignment of the settlement's stone structures with natural features, rivers, mountains, and celestial bodies, was part of a larger spiritual framework that may have made the site particularly significant. Was this connection to the earth and the heavens so deeply ingrained in the culture of the Selca people that they felt the site's energy waning, leading them to abandon it? Alternatively, might the abandonment reflect a spiritual or ritualistic shift? one that we simply cannot yet comprehend? As we gaze across the stone ruins of Selca, it is hard not to feel the weight of the unanswered questions that linger in the air. What did the builders of this site know that we don't? Was there an underlying knowledge, perhaps of the heavens or of the natural world, that shaped the way they designed and organized their settlement? Could this knowledge have been lost or deliberately hidden over time? The stones that form the structures at Selca stand as silent witnesses to a past that is now almost entirely out of reach. Despite the discoveries made at the site, the true purpose of Selca stone settlement remains a puzzle. Each stone circle, each stone wall, hints at a deeper understanding, one that is beyond the grasp of modern science. Yet it also serves as a reminder of the ingenuity and mathematical precision of a people who lived in harmony with both the natural world and the celestial forces that governed their lives. What other mysteries lie buried beneath the stones of Selca, waiting to be uncovered? As we stand in the shadow of these ancient stones, one question remains. What else might still be hidden here waiting for us to discover?